Well, they certainly made history. Let's talk about it, y'all. Middle America.
And you ain't black.
I don't know what I said.
The first time ever any...
What are you people? We're Americans.
We are Americans indeed. My name is Vincent. This is Middle America with Vin and Sorry, where we are not left wing, we are not right wing, we are just right. I usually say that tongue in cheek, but this time, dear listener, I have to say, and it really pains me to say it, because you guys might not know me, but I'm probably the most humble person you know. And so what I'm about to say really pains me, but it must be done. It must be done, dear listener, for the good of the collective. Dear listener, I had multiple people reaching out to me. They'd say, Vincent, you've got a lot of knowledge. You've got a lot of wisdom. Vincent, tell us, who do you believe is going to win the 2024 election? And I said, Mr. Trump is going to win by a landslide. I said that, dear listener, and I will provide proof of that before the end of this little video here. I will provide proof of the fact that I accurately predicted that the situation we're in was the situation we're going to be in. Now, for full disclosure, I am not a Republican or I am not a Democrat. I do not believe in the two-party system. I think the two-party system benefits one class of people, and I think that we have a lot more opportunities and options as Americans in an actual democracy. But having said that, you and I both know that currently speaking, we have two parties in America that essentially run the show. Now, look, if you want to continue the conversation, you can join us on the other side at Facebook. You just type in facebook.com/America Middle, and you will see us there. And all that good jazz. Now, listen, I'm going to give you guys the top 10 reasons. These are the top 10 reasons that Miss Kamala Harris and really the Democratic Party got utterly and completely annihilated. Now, I will tell you guys, I had Trump in a landslide, but I did not have the Senate and the House going to the Republicans as well. I mean, that map, there was a bunch of blood on that map there, listener. It was insane, and I did not think that we were in a situation where it would get that bad, but it got that bad for the Democratic Party. What in the world happened? Jay Vell in the House. What in the world happened to the Democrats in 2024? Well, here we go. Top 10. Number 10. The save democracy, Trump is a fascist stuff did not work. Thank God. I gotta tell you, this whole we have to vote for the Democrats because we are the party that's trying to protect democracy was insane to me. I could not believe that was a strategy that they were employing. Now, the argument for the save democracy idea was the fact that Mr. Trump lost in 2020, according to all intents and purposes, and then staged a coup in order to remain in office. And that was the end of the streak we had of the peaceful transfer of power. Everybody heard my position on that. I said what Trump did there was unforgivable. Not only I don't really care much about the hype-up speech or whatever, but when he saw all his people melting down like that, instead of sending in reinforcements, he just sat there for an hour and a half and had Rudy Giuliani calling people and telling people, maybe we shouldn't ratify the vote today, too much stuff is going on, etc., etc. I said it was unforgivable, I said it was terrible. But the fact of the matter is that nothing happened to Mr. Trump due to that, and between January 6, 2020, and yesterday, 2024, nobody cared. You know, the mom that's, look, I'm sorry, but we're in a 24-hour news cycle. We've got MSNBC, CBS, Fox. On top of that, we have YouTube channels. We got Joe Rogan. We got this. We got that. There are literally thousands of stories that happened between January 6th and yesterday. And the fact of the matter is Americans don't care. We don't care. Because since then, and we'll hit it later, there's been two wars and a giant recession. So nobody cares about January 6th. Secondly, I'm sorry, but this idea that Donald Trump is a fascist is absolutely and totally and completely ridiculous. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard in my entire life. If Donald Trump was a fascist, you would not be able to go on TV every other day and call him the Orange Man. You would not be able to do all the kind of craziness that we do to Trump. You would not be able to literally threaten the man on television. Again, if I have to remind you, a lot of the people on the left don't really care. But at the beginning of the Trump presidency, Chuck Schumer got up there and said, Trump is messing with the intelligence community. He's mocking them on Facebook, and those aren't the group I would mess with because they know how to screw you up 6 ways from Sunday. Y'all remember that? They got on TV and did that. Okay, I'm sorry. Get me the time when Mussolini. Get me Mussolini and them boys. Tell me about a time when people were freely able to mock Mussolini. They were able to caricature Mussolini. They were able to shoot at Mussolini. Show me this. The trumped up charges every 2 seconds against Mussolini, making the guy go through multiple impeachment scandals, blah, 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 blah. If Trump was really a fascist, all those people would be dead. So the idea that Trump is this big fascist that was going to completely upend and destroy democracy was such a stupid argument, and the argument was refuted by the very fact that the people that were saying it were openly mocking him. What happened to the comedian lady who showed up with a picture of Trump's head? She had this watermelon or whatever, and it was Trump's head. It was extremely bloody. She lost a couple $1 million. She didn't lose her life. Nobody killed her. But she's out here making art with the president's severed head. Would you stop? Stop it. Mr. Trump is not a fascist. He is not a dictator. He did not like losing. And he tried to stay in because he was so embarrassed that he lost to a guy like Joe Biden. That's period, end of story. But the idea that Mr. Trump is a dangerous fascist dictator is just stupid. And I've been telling you guys this from the beginning that this was stupid. And I've been telling my progressive friends, please stop saying that nonsense. Especially progressives, when you guys were supportive of all the craziness that was happening in Ukraine, where actual authoritarianism was taking place. You remember where all the peacenik, because remember I just said that in real democracy you have more than two parties. Ukraine, for as corrupt as Ukraine is, they had more than two parties, but you know what happened? Mr. Zelensky shut down all the peacenik parties. So if you're a party that's pushing for peace, he shut that down. He then nationalized the media. He nationalized the media, and then he started persecuting Russian Orthodox Christians. Okay? So, if you were really concerned about authoritarianism, y'all would have said, this is horrible, Zelensky's acting like a fascist. Go ahead and look at the comments in the video. You'll see. Not a single one of these left-wing progressives were talking about the creeping fascism over in Ukraine. Instead, when you would point it out, they would call you a Russian asset. Y'all don't remember that? Okay. So number 10. The Save Democracy, Trump is a fascist thing is over. It didn't work. The only people that are saying that still are people on YouTube and your little silly Discord. I'm sorry, but it's true. And some of y'all need to get a plane ticket and fly to other countries and see what actual authoritarianism is. Trump is not an authoritarian. I'm sorry, you're wrong. He's not authoritarian, and he's not a fascist, and he was not a threat to democracy. In the biggest sort of irony of all this is the guy that you said was a threat to democracy just used democracy to take over the country. The number 9 reason, identity politics is officially dead. Nobody cares anymore. Identity politics is dead, dear listener. This Tony guy, whatever his name is, he got up there and he called Puerto Rico a floating pile of garbage. Did Trump say it? No. Some comedian said it. That comedian, did he mock other races? Of course he did. He's mocked Jewish people. He's mocked black people. That's just what they do. But you know what happened with the media. Those guys jumped on. Oh my goodness, this is terrible. I can't believe this person said that. It's over now. They were so happy. You saw all the glee on MSNBC and TYT and all the rest of it. You saw all the glee when them folks were covering that. They're like, oh, man, we're going to cash this in with them Latinos. Don't you remember? Do you remember how they cashed it in with the Latinos? That's right. Kamala had a minus, I think, 12. She had a 12% delta of support by Latino people. And then Mr. Trump had a plus 10% increase among Latino males and a plus 6% increase among Latino females. That's all the Latino females that were married to the Latino males. And then you had a bunch of single female Latinos that were still voting for Trump. I believe California got 30% Trump. Trump got an entire district in the Bronx where AOC was and where I'm from. My son is half Puerto Rican. You guys know how he voted. I got on the phone with his mom when I heard about all this floating garbage stuff. I said, what you on? What you thinking about? She said, yeah, I was watching TV and some guy said Christ is king. And then Kamala said, you're in the wrong group. And she said, so I packed up my Puerto Rican ass and went right down there and voted for Trump. Because I love Jesus more than Puerto Rico. I don't even care about Puerto Rico. She said, I don't care about Puerto Rico. The Puerto Ricans didn't give a damn. Because the Spanish people in this country understand that the white liberal on TV doesn't give a damn about them. You know how they know? Because when Trump was in office, you guys are going to the border, crying at the border, photo ops at the border. Rachel Maddow so overcome with emotion that she can't finish. We got to go to commercial. When Trump was doing that to them Latino kids, that's what he was doing. And then as soon as you guys got in there, the very first thing that you did, Kamala, was go over there and tell them people to stay home. Isn't that true? Stay home. They make the Twix bigger. Mussolini was shot at in 1926. I'm not saying that there are not assassination attempts. What I'm saying is, show me the time when somebody openly mocked Mussolini and they just went on fine like nothing happened. That happens every day, right? Jon Stewart, all the comedy shops, all the comedy shows, they're all making fun of Trump, mocking him. Go mock Trump. Go to Saudi Arabia and say that Muhammad was a pedophile. And see how long your head stays on your shoulders. That's what I'm talking about. That's authoritarianism. Not Trump. We continue. Identity politics did not work. Those Puerto Ricans did not care. They didn't care. They didn't care what was said about no floating pile of garbage. They didn't care about Trump calling illegals rapists and all the rest of them. They didn't care. They didn't give a damn. They voted Trump plus 10%. Here's the other thing about white neoliberals. I'm sorry, white neoliberals, but it was you guys. You guys did this to yourself. You guys will go and pander to audiences and you don't even know what their value structures are. You don't even know, for example, the attitude that Puerto Ricans have relative to Mexicans. You don't know because you go, oh, they're all Hispanic. You have no idea. You don't even know what a Mexican with a student visa, how they look down on other Mexicans who can't even get across the border. You have no idea. The mind of a white liberal is this very simplistic. Everybody who has this identity is having the exact same experience and thought pattern. You have no idea. The first fight I got into when I got into the Bronx was because I misappropriated this guy. I called him a Mexican and he was a Puerto Rican and he shoved me and I said, yo, you just made a mistake, bro. Why'd you put your hands on me? He said, don't call me no fucking Mexican. I was like, what are you talking about? You guys are all... They're not about it. They're not about it at all. Those Puerto Ricans went and 10-plussed up. Even after they heard about the whole, oh, it's a floating pile of garbage. And all the white folks were pearl clutching. Oh, my God. Oh, and they were all laughing. All those Latinos, they're going to show you, Mr. Trump. Yeah, they showed you. What they showed you was identity politics is dead. Okay? Now, white women already showed you this with Hillary Clinton. You had Hillary Clinton, the pinnacle of feminist whatever, and then you had Donald grab him by the junk, Trump. And them white suburban women said, nah. They said, no way. We've seen you already, Hillary. Now, what happened with the Democrats, they said, okay, well, those are white women and white people are superior, so they were able to figure this out. But black people won't be able to figure it out. And they were right, because in 2020, we went ahead and voted for Mr. Biden. Mr. You Ain't Black Biden, Mr. Crime Bill Biden, Mr. These Negroes are going to turn my kid's life into a racial jungle. Racial jungle. Y'all remember all that? but Negroes still went out and voted for this fool, for this man. I'm sorry, I stuck for a law. That's not good. He's still the president. So we went out and voted for Mr. Biden against our own interests. And so they thought the Latinos were going to do the exact same thing. But if you've been looking at the trends, I'm freestyling this. Obama got 71% of the Latino vote. Hillary got 68% of the Latino vote. Biden got 67% of the Latino vote. And then Ms. Harris got 52% of the Latino vote. They didn't vote for her. You know who else didn't vote for her? White women. Who's always going to get blamed? Suburban white women, which we're going to talk about towards the end of this video for the number one reason that they lost. Identity politics is dead. Nobody's going to vote for anybody. The only people that are left that are going to vote for somebody because they look like them is black people. And black people do not show up enough for you to appeal to us to get you over the hump, because we can't get you over the hump. All that was needed was a 10% plus up for Trump with the Latino community, and he massacred her. So right now, I am hearing, rightfully so, all these pundits saying, how are we going to get these Latinos in? They're not saying a word about black people, nor should they. Black people are going to be automatic, and we're going to be dumb and vote for a Democrat. Doesn't matter what he is. I swear to God, you could be in a Ku Klux Klan hat. Negroes will still vote for you if you have a D by your name. But aside from them, and we're aborting ourselves out of existence, man. Shout out to Margaret Sanger and all the pro-choicers. But you know, up until 2003, black people were the second most populous people in America. And then as of 2003, that wasn't the case. The Latinos have taken us over, and the difference is pretty stark. We abort our children at a rate 12% higher than the Latinos do. Okay, so if you just annuitize that since 1973 to present, you can see you got one group of people that's killing their kid at a 12% clip higher. Eventually, that's going to happen, and that's what you have. And good for the Latinos. Good for the Latinos. If the left side doesn't learn to talk in a populist way rhetorically, the far right and the capitalist class will win due to apathy. I don't know what you've been watching, Controller, but the Democratic Party is absolutely a capitalist class-run party. Okay, so that was number 2. Identity politics is officially dead. White women will not vote for you just because you have a vagina. Latin people will not vote for you just because you call yourself a person of color. And white people will not vote for the white person because you call the white person a racist and a fascist. They will make their own decisions as to what's important to them. Here's a newsflash I've been trying to tell you guys for years. I do not care what Trump says on Twitter. I care about his policies. I do not care what Biden says on Twitter. I care about his policies. Full stop. And the Latinos said, man, we don't care about none of that. What is his policy? Number 3. So we got reason number 10. The save democracy, Trump is a fascist thing is dumb. Nobody believes it anymore, and the people that were saying it didn't believe it either. Number 9, identity politics is dead. The Latinos just demonstrated that for you, and the women demonstrated that to you for the second time in a row. And now you weirdos are going to try to blame white women, and you're going to say the inherent racism in white women. Then why didn't they do it for Hillary Clinton then? You see? Anytime somebody disagrees with y'all, they're homophobic, racist, whatever. The entire country is sick of it. The entire country is sick of it. 2020. Mistake number 1098. Kamala as the VP. Kamala as the VP. Kamala Harris was clearly a DEI hire. DEI means diversity, equity, and inclusion. Kamala Harris did not earn the vice presidential spot, and she did not demonstrate during the Democratic primaries that she was a worthy person to hold that office. Dear listener, Kamala Harris was dropped out in the primaries before we got to California. Now, why would a person do that? California is Kamala's home state. So this is a time for you to show out. California is a very big state. I think it's got the most electoral votes when you get to the general. So you want to make a really, really good showing in California. And California was her backyard. And she dropped out of the race before we went to California. Why? Because she was going to lose to Bernie Sanders, Joe Biden, and Andrew Yang, who nobody knew about 2 weeks earlier. She was horribly unpopular. She got destroyed by Tulsi Gabbard when Tulsi revealed the racist, horrible things that she did to get to where she was. All the black scalps that she brought back to her white masters, all the black folks, all the black men that she enslaved in the prison industrial complex over there in California, and would not let them leave early, even though the nasty white other attorneys were telling her, let these people go. Okay, they're nonviolent offenders. What are we still doing here with these people? And you guys remember what she said? Well, I mean, look, man, if we do that, it's going to hurt the budget because we're paying these guys pennies on the dollar to fight fires. That was the black person that Mr. Biden decided should represent the country. Here you go. Here is Biden announcing, since people going crazy because everybody's saying that Kamala was a DEI hire. The great thing about the internet is that it's forever. Here we go. Here's Mr. Biden.
Together we make history, not erase it. To me, the values of the...
By the way, together we make history, not erase it, is, this was, remember, in the context of 2020, when, we had our wonderful white friends that had, statues of Andrew Jackson and all the other folks that were raping slaves and all the rest of it. The people that decided, generals and such, who decided that they were going to foment a revolution in this country and divide this country. And so their children, in order to give them a participation prize, they would build little monuments to their leaders who betrayed our country. And so people started taking that down, and the response for the very non-racist white people at the time was, hey, this is history. We can't erase history. And then you say, great, so let's put up a nice altar to Hitler in Germany and let's see what people talk about with history. But here you go. Here's Mr. Biden announcing Kamala. Ready?
Together we make history, not erase it. To me, the values of diversity, equality, inclusion are literally, and that's not kidding,
diversity, equality, inclusion. That's literally DEI. We continue.
Core strengths of America. That's why I'm proud to have the most diverse administration in history.
I am proud to have the most diverse administration in history. Why? I just told you, DEI is at the heart of America and makes it strong.
Taps into the full talents of our country and starts at the top with the vice president. On Memorial Day,
it starts at the top with the vice president. He said it. He said, this is about diversity, equity, and inclusion, and it starts at the top of the vice president. Congratulations. Ms. Harris was not selected because she was the best person. She was not selected because she was the most competent person. She was selected because of her melanin content, and she identified as a woman. Let me just say it that way. That's it. That's it. And she was horribly unpopular, and she was not accepted by black people who had any sort of sense relative to the political seats in Laban that we're in. So number 8 was hiring Kamala Harris as your VP. Horribly unpopular person, not very talented when she's speaking extemporaneously. When Miss Harris is in a dominant position as a prosecutor, because she's a DA, she has no problem. When she was out there going after Kavanaugh for all the, craziness, she looked very strong and whatever. But as soon as you get her down and she doesn't have a script to read from, it's over for her. It's over for her. And that's the reason why she couldn't go on Joe Rogan and the rest of these podcasts, because they're 3-hour-long podcasts, and you can't do that with a guy like Joe Rogan. She went on the Shannon Sharp podcast for 1 hour, and we could tell everything was scripted. She was a horrible candidate. Terrible. Especially considering a guy like Biden, who was clearly weak relative to his rhetorical presentation. You would need somebody that has almost like Obama-like eloquence to kind of even that out, and she was not it. She was not it. Okay, Number 7, the Putin invasion. The invasion. Well, she's not charismatic, and she didn't earn a thing. She didn't earn that spot. She got that spot because of the George Floyd controversy. Full stop. That's it. You just heard it yourself. She was a DEI hire, and that was out of the mouth right of the president of the United States currently. Putin's invasion. Putin invaded Ukraine 24 February 2021. You know, we had all that controversy in January about who was going to be the president. The minute Mr. Putin realized that that Biden was really and officially the president, he strolled right into Ukraine, and the rest is history. Dear listener, I'm sorry. This part, my leftist friends are going to have a real problem with, but it is what it is. Listen, guys. One of the problems with leftists is that they've never been in a physical confrontation in their life. And because you don't, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person, doesn't mean you're a weak person. It just means that there are certain cultural cues that you will miss if you haven't grown up with altercation and conflicts and physicality. But let me try to explain to you how it works, especially among men. If you were the leader of a crew of people that could really execute some damage, and you're talking to we call it a parlay, you're talking to the other guy, and the other guy has a crew, right? You guys are both sitting down. Number one, when two men meet each other in a room, at least American men, the first thing that happens is we size the guy out to say, how would we fare against this guy? It's the another thing with the handshake thing. What's your arm strength? We're all trying to gauge what kind of threat is this person. If this person does something, what do I do to take care of that situation? That's what a lot of American dudes, that's how we approach those kinds of situations. Now look, as I said before, when you're young and you're full of piss and vinegar, you're going to fight over anything. So I remember back in the day, somebody stepped on my shoe, I'm going to take off. What you want? I got Taekwondo on my belt. I got Jiu-Jitsu under my belt. I got boxing, like real boxing under my belt. I felt pretty confident. And, you know, my best friend, he was the same dude. He you know, different kinds of discipline, Shotokan, whatever, similar ideas, right? We believed that we would see anybody one-on-one. So you step on my shoe, I'm going to find a way to get into a conflict with you, bro. And then I'm going to put you in a blender. Here's the problem, though. I put you in a blender in front of your girlfriend. Well, you can't let that happen. So now I'm in the gym, changing my clothes, and now you come after me again. I'm like, okay, let's square up. And now there's 5 people on me. So then I'm in the clinic. My friend comes and says, hey, they put you in the clinic? Who? A clinic? Okay. So now I had to go to the school clinic, but that guy's friend had to go to the hospital. Okay? So that's going on all the freshman year, junior year, blah, 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 blah. Senior year, somebody steps on your shoe. And you say, yo. And the other guy goes, hey, yo, my bad. I'm not scared of him. He's not scared of me. But you know what it is? He and I have been through we've been through conflicts. We know how this goes. And we made a quick calculation. Do I want to put everybody in this situation over this shit? Nah, not really. How is this relevant to Putin? Here's why. Putin gets on the phone with Trump, and Trump says, listen, man, I see what you're doing over there. Y'all can do that whenever I'm not around, but if I'm around, y'all can't go in there. And Mr. Putin can read from Mr. Trump's body language, I will fuck you up if you don't listen to what I'm telling you to do. I'm not going to go out in public. Notice, a lot of people were like, why is Trump having these closed-door discussions with him and with Putin in Helsinki? Y'all remember that? Why is he having these discussions with... Here's why. Because if I tell you, no, Vladimir, you cannot go, you can't cross the border from Russia into Ukraine. You can't do that. If I do that publicly, like Obama did with Georgia, I don't know if you guys remember this, Obama had a nice red line, and he went out in public, because Obama doesn't understand how to apply violence and how it works. He went out in public and said, if he crosses that line, we're going to get him. So what Obama doesn't understand is that a man like Putin now has to. He has to. Now that you made it public, I have to do that. That's what people who have never been in physical conflicts do not understand about how violence escalates. Mr. Putin perceived Mr. Biden as a weak person who would not be able to muster up the energy or strength to contradict his ambitions for Ukraine, whatever they were. Now, you Russiagate people. This is where Russiagate becomes really unforgivable to me. Because now we see that Trump was actually the only backstop keeping that man out of Ukraine. Because men understand, men who have been in conflict understand, this guy he'll make good on his threats of violence. This guy won't even threaten me. And that's the same reason Hamas did what they did, and it's also the same reason that Bibi Netanyahu is straight clowning our president right now. Because again, Bibi Netanyahu was a Shin Bet guy. He's Special Forces, CQB, blah, 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 blah. Killed a lot of Palestinian kids. He's a warrior. I don't like him, but he's a warrior. You can say what you want about Vladimir Putin. He's a warrior. Biden is not. You say, well, is Trump a warrior? Yes, he is. I'm sorry. The man got shot, and like a fool, he stood up. Now, if it was me, when you're doing PD, you can fire your client. That's a fireable offense. Trump standing up there with his hands up with the blood rushing down. How do you know there's only one assassin, bruh? So yeah, the dude, Trump is a warrior for sure. He's got stripes. And when Trump threatens you, you believe he's going to do some shit. We killed Soleimani, and everybody was saying, oh my God, we're going to be in World War III. Go watch the video. I predicted exactly what was going to happen. I said, man, them Iranians aren't going to do a damn thing. They're going to throw some ridiculous munition out there. Nothing's going to happen to us. And then the Iranians are going to say, that's right. And then that's going to be it. And that's literally exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. I played the whole thing out before it even started. Not because I'm intelligent, but because I know how violence works. Dear listener, you better thank your lucky stars that Miss Kamala Harris is not sitting across from Mr. Putin in one of these discussions. Mr. Trump took Mr. Putin backdoor and said, let's get all the cameras and shit out of the way. You're not going to go over there, bro. But I'm going to save your dignity. I'm not going to blast that shit out there like Hillary would. Hillary was saber rattling with the Russians because she wants her war. Okay? Now here is controller. Trump skipped out of military service in mock POVs. Warrior, he's a thin-skinned snowflake. He's not a thin-skinned snowflake. I'm sorry, controller. They shot him, and he stood up with his fist in the air with blood running down his face. Like, this is on problem. Like, you guys can't be objective. Listen, I've seen dudes kitted up with gear, BDUs, all type of shit. The fire wasn't even effective. You weren't even feeling any overpressure, and dudes were cowering in absolute fear. That dude stood up and put his hands up, and he's like, what, 6'2", 6'3"? He was taller than most of the people that were guarding him. Stop, controller. He's a warrior. He is. I'm glad he skipped out of Vietnam. And if I had kids, I'd do everything possible to keep my kids out of Vietnam. Vietnam was a terrible war, and if you can avoid it, you should avoid it. And look, this is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about with leftists, man. They can't think objectively. Here's halfway. Draft dodger Trump is a warrior. The only thing he is an insurrectionist. He should have been disqualified by the Supreme Court. You are speaking emotionally. You are not speaking in the way that you don't have the calculus that that Putin has. There's a reason that Putin did not invade. See, this is what I'm saying. You guys don't like Trump. You don't like him. That's fine. But there's a reason that Putin did not invade Ukraine during the entire Trump presidency. And you watch what happens between Ukraine and Russia as soon as Mr. Trump is sworn in. As soon as Mr. Trump is sworn in, you watch what happens with Ukraine and Russia. Y'all weird, man. Okay? The Putin invasion really, 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 really hurt Mr. Biden, because on top of the Putin invasion, you ended up sending about $200 billion to these people to foment this proxy war, while the economy was just getting absolutely blasted. Absolutely blasted. He didn't invade because these guys are in cahoots. There we go. Look, see? You still have a Russiagator here. Halfway, I love you. I love you. I don't know who you are. I love you. But he didn't invade because he was afraid of Trump, because Trump threatened him in Helsinki. That's why he didn't invade. And that's why, by the way, Trump also crossed the border into North Korea, which is also a pretty gangster move. That's a gangster move. Show me any other American politician who went and crossed the border and went right there to North Korea and shook that man's hand. Now, the weirdos on TV were telling us that was horrible. Oh, Trump likes dictators, blah, 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 blah. Right. But you know what's really cool? I'm not at war. I am not at war with North Korea. The Un family has done nothing to me. I'm glad that my president crossed the border and shook hands with them people. That's one less country that I need to go to war with, or my sons need to go to war for. See, one of the things that gets me about white neoliberals is they're okay with sending other people's children to war. It's weird. But anyway, the Putin invasion, which set us back $200 billion and absolutely skyrocketed inflation, was also something that people kind of looked around. That's when I started seeing these tweets. Anybody missed the bad tweeting president? Because it's like, what would you rather see? Hundreds of Ukrainians getting deleted every day on Twitter, or the president saying bad things that hurt a couple people's feelings? Man, I tell you, all the shit I've seen between the Ukrainians, the Russians, the Palestinians, the Israelis. Aren't you sick of seeing dead people all the time? Aren't you sick of hearing about dead people all the time? I am. But because we have a weak leader, things like that happen. When you don't understand how violence works and the application therein, you think that these things are just accidents of history. They're not accidents of history. And here's the other thing. Even if he was quote unquote in cahoots with Putin, great! It stopped him from invading another country. Wouldn't we want the guy that's more in cahoots to stop the crazy terrorists from doing all the horrible things that Putin did, like he wasn't really provoked by our country? This is the logic I'm talking about. Only leftists who are still have an emotional issue with Trump. And if you have an emotional issue with Trump, that's okay. You can be emotional. That's part of the human experience, bruh. But I'm saying the rest of America was like, man, I don't care what you think about him. We didn't have Hamas and we didn't have Ukraine under Trump's administration. We had it in the first year of yours. Okay. Number 6, the border. The border. Now look, everybody who knows me, I've got 2 positions that are not very popular among evangelical Christians. One is I'm a non-lethal pacifist, meaning I do not believe that you have a biblical warrant to kill anyone for any reason, even in defense of the innocent. You do not have the right to kill people. That's why I've been outside an abortion clinic many a Friday, and I've never brought a weapon with me. I am not going to kill those people in order to save the life of children, right? That's pacifism. Well, modern evangelicals don't believe in pacifism. We love ourselves some more. But the second thing that I had was I have a very liberal immigration policy because the Bible does. And I was horrified, and I held not really Trump accountable. I didn't hold Trump accountable for the kids in cages things. I went directly and I spoke directly to evangelical Christians. Because I said there was no way that he would be able to get away with doing this to these kids if we all stood up with one voice and said, you can't do this. I don't really care much about Hitler. What I care about are the nice German citizens who would watch as the SS stormed their neighbors' homes, took their neighbors away, never to be seen again, and then simply pulled down the nightshade and then had a nice little Bible time and went to bed. I was very, 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 very critical of those people. But dear listener, I have no idea how to solve this immigration problem. Do you? You know, in 2020, Biden, Harris, they made it sound so simple. Oh, bring me your tired, bring me your poor. Trump had this thing called Remain in Mexico, which was actually a really good program. Biden shows up and immediately destroys it because it was xenophobic. And now we've got record numbers of people coming over the border. I have no problem with a foreigner and a sojourner. The problem is that a lot of these dudes, and look, please don't try me. Some of you guys know me, some of you guys don't. But okay. You tell me the procedure. You see little Pedro with Jose. And Pedro says that Jose is his dad. But how do you know that Jose is not a human trafficker and a coyote who's about to sell this little 6-year-old to some weirdo in Santa Monica? That's an actual case, by the way. How do you know? You don't know. The border is an absolute, complete, and total mess. I have no solutions for it. I know what my heart wants. I don't know what the solution is, guys. The problem for the Democrats, and this is one of the things that really took the Latinos really out of your box, bro. The problem with the Democrats was they made this giant deal about being emotional about it, and then they turned around and did the same exact thing. And then when Ms. Harris was confronted about it, I've been to the border. No, you haven't. Well, I also haven't been to Europe. Ha ha ha. The border. And here's the other thing about the border. I found out that there was a problem with the Venezuelans before anybody. You know why? I was thinking about the Venezuela problems 3 or 4 weeks before everybody else. You know how? I listened to this. It's only 100,000 subs. It's called Trenches News. So he's a gangbanger in Chicago. Like, he's a real life gangbanger, knows all the killers, whatever. And he gives updates about what's going on in Chicago. And it was then that I found out that the Venezuelans were setting up shop over there, and that the BDs and the GDs and the Stones and all these other gangs were about to unite to clear their area of Venezuelans. So I said, what? I said, what's going on? They dumped, these are their words, these are not my words. They dumped these people over there, told the black kids, took the black kids out of their school, boop, and brought on these Venezuelans and said, okay, this is where you're going to set up shop. Then they pushed the Venezuelans up for, food provisions, vehicles, while the black folks were like, what the hell is going on here? We got kicked out of school for these people. They don't even speak English. That's another reason I knew that the landslide was coming. Because all leftists can think about when you're talking about immigration, if a person doesn't want immigration, all leftists can do is call you a racist. That's all they can do. They got to accuse you of racism. Now, are there some people who are border conscious and birth rate conscious and the Tucker Carlson replacement stuff? Sure. I don't think the white replacement thing is a complete crazy thing. What I always tell my people is look at what your enemy's worried about. I already told you guys about black birth rates and what has happened with the black population and how the black electorate after this is completely irrelevant. Completely irrelevant. The first woman president is either going to be a white lady or a Latina. Okay, now watch. Now here we go. Fine, you are critical, but in the 30s you would have been downplaying the NSDAP threat, just like you downplay GOP and their inhumane views. I don't know what you're talking about, controller. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you can give me one of these inhumane views that the GOP practices that I support. All right. So like, look, and listen, guys, be nice to your leftist friends, okay? They're sour, they're upset, because they know that what happens in America is going to directly affect them. So you got to be patient with your leftist friends. Give them room to, you know what I'm saying? You got to give them room. Give them room. Yeah, the Putin invasion thing, man. And then the border. Look, I don't know how to solve the border problem. My heart bleeds for those people. I just know that the way that the Biden administration handled the border problem, we didn't get the kids out of the cages. The kids were still in the cages. But what was worst was we've got a burgeoning gang war happening in Chicago, and it doesn't affect white people in the main, so you guys don't see it on the news, but I'm tracking it, and you should too. Go sign up for Trenches News. It's very fascinating stuff. So you got a gang war that's about to happen between the blacks and the Venezuelans, and then we've all seen the videos of these guys taking over buildings with guns, all types of weirdo shit, bro. I'm not going to be mad at them. If we're going to give it to them, they're going to take it. That's all they know. I'm not mad at them, but the solution to the border was a disaster, guys. It was a non-solution. It was horrible. Next, number 5, the debate. The debate. Trump and Biden had a debate. To be honest with you, I thought that the reaction from not just the left, but the right as well, I thought the reaction was way overblown. I did not think that Biden did worse in that debate than any other debate that he participated in. Okay? I didn't think that it was that crazy. We have been pointing this to every American and non-American, unfortunately, has been pointing out, and we kept saying it was gaffes, it was a gaffe, when clearly, this man's mind was is campaigning with Liz Cheney on the list. It's going to be an honest mention. As a Latino, Trump never did anything for Latin America. He had Guaido elected president of Venezuela in the Senate and never did anything to help Maduro keep Maduro out of power. Yeah, man, that's I understand that, but 10+% of Puerto Rican males didn't care about any of that. Let's see. Trump hates labor unions, don't care about poor people, wants to use National Guard against the enemy from within. Okay. Again, like, provide me these actual, get me something actual instead of talking points, bro. Because you know how I get down. I'm not just going to say, oh, Trump wears pink underwear. Like, where's your proof of what you're talking about? And hate is a big word, man. Hate is a big word. Be careful. I don't know how to... So, the debate. He stumbled at the debate. He looked terrible at the debate. I understand that. But like I said, if it was me, honestly, I would have just stayed with Biden if I was the Democratic Party. Of course, it's easy for me to say that in hindsight. But for me, once I saw that debate, I said, I messaged my brother and I said, there's no way that this doesn't become a landslide. I said, because the Democrats are screwed. They either have to stay with Biden, and even they are now having to recognize the truth that they tried to gaslight us for 4 years on, or they're going to have to go with Kamala. And she is horribly unpopular, and she will be terrible as a speaker. She has no charisma whatsoever, and she's a cop. We don't like her. He said, nah, man, you're going to figure it out, blah, 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 blah. Well, we didn't figure it out. You ended up with Kamala Harris. The Biden debate was just terrible, and I would almost say that the left-wing media reaction to Biden's debate was a lot worse for the Democrats than the debate itself. If they would have said, debate's not his thing, and just moved on with it, I think they would have been fine. But the left-wing media, Morning Joe, all the rest of it, man, they kept hammering it and hammering. I'm like, why is this happening? I will tell you guys, I got the conspiracy hat. My thought process is Barack Obama always wanted Kamala Harris to be the next in line. And I think he came into 2020 believing he was going to king-make Kamala, and that's the reason he would never endorse Biden until way, way, way later. Kamala showed up with the I was a little girl in the shirt thing. She was getting ridiculous coverage. It was always nice, always good. She's the front runner. And then after Tulsi destroyed her, Obama had to pull back, and they had to go with Biden. And then Obama decided, you know what? It's time. And so they fomented this horrible, crazy reaction to put pressure on Biden to get him to sit down because Obama knew there was no way they were going to win. There was no way they were going to win if Biden was up there. That's just my own little silly conspiracy theory, whatever. Mr. Biden, however, stomped his feet and said, no, I'm not going anywhere. And then later on that week, Mr. Donald J. Trump was assassinated. They tried to assassinate Mr. Trump after that. Right after Mr. Biden said, I'm not going anywhere, there was an assassination attempt literally 2 days later on Mr. Trump. Now, I hear a lot of people saying, Trump is saying he's going to go to war with the DOJ and he's going to make his enemies pay. He should. He should. Dear listener, you don't have to have any experience in PID to know what the hell was going on at that assassination attempt. There is no way in the world you can do your own kind of... There's no way in the world that kid could be posted up there with a perfect line of sight with a fucking rangefinder. Set up shop, have the time. Literally, you got civilians saying, yo, there's a kid up there. There's a kid up there. You literally had the cops hitting the Secret Service. Yo, there's a kid up there with a rifle. He was allowed to stay up there. Unmolested. Yeah, I want the people behind that, because you cannot tell me that... Look, if you believe that kid was operating by himself and that it was just incompetence. You guys know that Mr. Trump asked for extra security detail in Pennsylvania. Mr. Biden said no. He said no extra security for you, Mr. Trump. And they assigned him the worst security detail known to man, who allowed this kid to go shoot at him. There is no way that story that you heard in the media is the story. Somebody needs to pay for that. Somebody's got to pay for that. You almost had a head of state assassinated on live TV in front of his family. And you're telling me that Trump, he's supposed to go, yeah, I mean, try to kill me, but it didn't work, so let's just keep it cracking. Nah, man. Somebody's got to pay for that. Somebody's got to pay for that, and we got to find out who was behind that shit. Because feel how you want to feel about Mr. Trump. At the end of the day, he's still an American citizen, and he still has rights. And that's the reason why when you hear these liberals, they get on TV, they'll say, he has this crime and this crime and this crime. He's convicted here and here and here. And nobody cares. They don't understand why. It's because we all know that you were afraid of him and you wanted to use the law and whatever else you could do to get rid of him. And that's why these charges are there. All of us believe that. None of us believes that the DOJ went after Trump because they're full of honor and integrity. Nobody believes that. Not even you. They went after Trump because Trump has made them look silly over and over again. And I told one of my friends, I did not predict this. I was actually wrong on this. I told one of my friends, I said, listen, if Trump makes it through, and I can show you guys the text messages for that one too. I said, if Trump makes this through without an assassination attempt, he's one of them. That's what I said. And you know who you are. You can show the people the thing yourself. I said, if Trump makes it through this election cycle without an assassination attempt, he's one of them. And he didn't. They went after him 3 times, 2 times in the media, whatever. Okay, so the assassination attempt. You know, I had a guy here that tried to call Trump a coward. They said, oh, Trump is a coward. That's what I heard. Trump is a coward. He draft dodged. I'm sorry, but that is the most iconic picture you're ever going to see in your life. When he's up there, he's got blood running down his face. He's put his hand up saying fight. And you weirdos in the left-wing media were like, I can't believe that Trump was saying fight. You know, this is the type of thing that encourages all this violence. You weirdos! You guys were the one calling this dude literally Hitler and calling him a fascist and all this shit, lying about this boy. Getting people all crazy. And of course an assassination attempt is going to happen if you really believe that the guy is Hitler. But these silly people, they don't believe that Trump is Hitler. If they believe Trump is Hitler, he'd be gone already. They're just saying that because... All right, so the assassination and the failure therein skyrocketed Trump to legendary status, and you know what? Rightfully so, man. Rightfully so. There's not a lot of things that impress me, man, but I gotta tell you, I was impressed. That's not enough to change a vote, but as a man, and look, I don't know how other countries do manhood, and I promise you, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I'm telling you, like as a man, you gotta respect that. You gotta respect that. Some of y'all, some of the people commenting on Trump in that situation, I'm like, look, man, you guys couldn't spend 2 days in the neighborhoods we came up in. I've seen when that pop, 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 and how people react. They generally don't react like that. They generally don't react like that. I'm not particularly religious, but that's the closest thing I've ever seen to divine intervention. When those photos came out, I knew he had it in the bag. Yeah, when you guys saw the trajectory of that bullet, and it just so happened that he turned and he was talking about immigration, and that's what saved his life, I had everybody saying that that's God. And if you want to say that that's not God, that's okay. But that was God. But I wanted somebody in our government wanted to kill this man in front of the country. If you want to hit somebody, honestly, a speaking engagement is the worst time to hit somebody. The best time to hit somebody is at their house or the domicile where they're staying. But it's definitely not in a public speaking event because there's so much security. Did you see the people? I'm not going to go back to the assassination, but you know, women did not come out looking pretty good in that situation. Good night. What are we doing? What are we doing? What do you mean? What are you doing? You haven't done a 5.52 drill in the last 4 days. Those guys drill every single day. How does she not know what's happening? I don't know, bro. I don't know. Okay, so the assassination. The next one. They had no choice but Kamala Harris. When they publicly ended the career of Mr. Biden, all they had was Kamala Harris, who was horribly unpopular. I don't believe that if Biden had 60% more of his mental powers, I believe he'd probably still be the president. Mr. Biden has his own brand of charisma. Mr. Biden is a multimillionaire hundreds of times over, and yet the way he communicates, he successfully makes people believe that he's an average Joe. Kamala has no extemporaneous ability, no ability to relate to regular people, no ability to relate to black people. Every time she talks, it sounds like it's scripted. Now, that could be the same for Mr. Biden, but he does not sound scripted when he's shooting off the hip. Okay? That's a fact. Miss Kamala Harris is one of the most disliked, disloyal, and devoid of political talent, and that's who everybody was left with. All you have to do is go back to leftist Twitter, leftist YouTube, Pod Save America. All these people were talking about Gavin Newsom. Maybe we should hold a primary, blah, blah, blah. And I told everybody on the Middle America page, facebook.com/America Middle, I said there is no way in the world that they're going to put that white boy, Gavin Newsom, over Kamala. She's the vice president. You have to run with Kamala. Black women will never forgive you. And what ended up happening? See, here's Wackator. They could have chosen Gavin Newsom, but they chose Kamala. They couldn't choose Gavin Newsom. They couldn't because of the racial ramifications. You chose the first black vice president, and then when it was time to fulfill her role as a vice president, she gets skipped over for a cishet white male? Are you kidding me? It'd been over with. Even the white folks would have been able to vote for him. They put themselves in a corner when instead of hiring the person who was most qualified and the best suited for a job, they hired a DEI hire who was not the best person suited for the job. And now they ended up in a situation where they're like, holy shit, we actually need a vice president. And they were stuck with Kamala Harris. Dear listener, you could say what you want. You could say, oh, the Democrats popped up Hillary Clinton in 2016 and she was the most unpopular, blah, 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 blah. Listen, man. I know she had a little help with Bernie, okay? But the fact of the matter is, Hillary Clinton pounded the pavement on the campaign trail. In the general, like the last 2 or 3 weeks, she finally went to take a rest. I don't think you guys understand how strenuous that job is. She collapsed at one point around a 9/11 memorial. People were saying XYZ thing was happening. Me personally, I was with somebody, watching over somebody, and they didn't have that kind of schedule. They had to hit 4 states in 7 days, all through private travel. It's exhausting. It's extremely, your sleep cycle screwed up. You have to meet people at certain hours of the night, blah, 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 blah. You're practicing all over the place. It is a grueling tour de force, man. It really, really is. Mr. Obama used to do a workout before it was time to go, and that was the wise thing to do. So Hillary, here's the thing about Hillary and Kamala. Hillary did the shit. She did the marathon running. She did all of that. And then, yeah, she had some help with Bernie, obviously. But in my view, aside from Bernie being there, she earned it because she put in all that work and blood, sweat, tears, and grime. And millions and millions and millions and millions of Democrats voted for her to be the vice presidential candidate. That did not happen with Kamala. Kamala was basically Bronny James, right? LeBron James' son, he just got drafted by the Lakers. Now he's in the G League. Why? He's not there yet. Okay? Kamala wasn't there yet. When you put somebody in there who didn't earn it, but got it because LeBron is your dad, or you're black, or you actually have a vagina, when you put people in those situations and then you can't perform, it's the worst. It's the worst. So she was a person that could not engender any loyalty because nobody voted for her. I didn't vote for you. You can't say that about Hillary. Millions of people voted for Hillary. Millions of people believed in Hillary. Kamala wasn't like that. Kamala was forced onto the Democratic Party. They had no choice. They had no option. Sorry. Israel's genocide. Yes, dear listener, what the Israelis are doing right now is a purposeful, coordinated attack of genocide to cleanse the land of the indigenous people there so as to get the nice real estate, as well as, I believe, the 320 billion metric cubes of natural gas that's under Gaza. When October 7th happened, all of us were upset about what happened on October 7th. Terrible things happened on October 7th. We all hate it. I think 1,400 people died on October 7th, 20% of which were killed by the IDF themselves. I'm not going to comment on the Hannibal option or whatever. On the outside, it looks crazy, but I understand the logic in it. War is not pretty. Nobody's denying what happened on October 7th. The problem is that it's been a year later, and we're up to 50,000 dead Gazan children, women, and men who have no air force and have no standing army. I knew that it was over for Kamala because I also knew about Michigan. There was no real primary for the Democrats because the Democratic Party doesn't believe that you should have the right to select who you want, and that's why you don't have Bernie Sanders. I don't know if you know this or not, Controller, but the Republicans actually listen to their folks. The Republicans launched a Never Trump campaign in 2016. They said, hell no, we're not going to let y'all have Trump. And the people said, that's okay. If you guys don't select him, we're still going to vote for him. And Trump said, I'm going to tell my folks to vote for me. Hell no. And so the Republicans acquiesced to the will of the people and went and supported Trump even though they hated him. On the other side, they didn't do that with Bernie and Hillary. They said, fuck you. We're going with Hillary. I know you want Bernie. We're going with Hillary. That's what happened. I'm sorry. You have to admit that. That's what happened. Now, here you go. You got a bunch of young people in the electorate now. And all these young people, they don't have the years of calloused around their hearts and their consciences like we do. And so these young people are seeing these poor Palestinian kids get torn to literal shreds. And they're saying, we're doing this? We're supporting these people? I'm watching Brianna Joy Gray. I'm watching Sabby Sabs. These are the two biggest voices, I think, on the left with black women. So I'm watching them. And all I hear about is these children in Gaza. These nasty leftist women. These cat ladies. Right? Because all leftist women are cat ladies. They don't, whatever. But all the trad wife, right-wing women, I didn't see a lot of right-wing trad wife people putting up stuff about the children of Gaza. I didn't see it. Maybe if CNN or Fox said, there were 10,000 Gazans aborted yesterday, maybe I could get right-wing Christian trad wives to shed a tear once for these Palestinian kids. But I don't know what Twitter you're on, but in my Twitter, it was just a bunch of left-wing gay dudes crying over it, and a bunch of left-wing butch women, crying over them Gaza children. And they were saying, there's no way in the world that I can support this shit. I don't give a fuck what's on the ballot. You put leftist women in a situation where they had to choose between killing their own children in abortion, which they wanted to do, and allowing for the killing of these Gazan children. And a bunch of women said, I can't handle that. I'm voting for Jill Stein. I can't do it. I can't countenance it. I'm saying that to shame Christians. We are horrible with this Gaza situation. Horrible. And when these pagans and their, this girl on her 9th abortion or whatever says, you're not pro-life, you're pro-birth, man, you just keep your fucking mouth shut. You didn't say nothing about these kids in Gaza. Nothing about the pregnant women of Gaza. But you're pro-life. That's why you're pro-life. It's not because you want to control these women. It's not because you resent these women. Some of you guys are calling yourself pro-life. You want a death penalty for these women. And then here's this Gazan mother about to get the death penalty, only she's not getting it graciously like a nice little round to the head where you can't even hear what just happened. She gets to die of thirst and hear her son starve to death, but he can't move because they're both under a cinder block. That's how she gets to leave this world. And the only people I see on TV upset and crying about it are those crazy butch leftists who hate life and all the rest of it. Maybe both of us hate life. Maybe being an American means that there are whole swaths of people that you just don't give a fuck about whether they live or die. Maybe that's what it means to be an American. Because my left wing friends are all of you are monstrous. You know what an abortion is, and you look the other way. So you're a fucking monster too. Nobody's off the leash here. But let's be real. These young leftist people, I'm sorry, they can't do it. They said, I can't do it. I'm seeing it every day on Twitter, Facebook. There are other apps I'm not going to mention where you can see this shit happen in real time. And then on top of that, you go to IDF Twitter and they're sitting there and mocking these people. Going into their drawers and like pulling out their clothes and trying on their clothes. And they're dead in the other room. And these young people can't deal with it. And the response from the intelligentsia was, we got to do something about Twitter. Don't you guys remember that? You're about to censor Twitter because all the young people were saying, yo, what the fuck is going on here? That should have been Christians. Those people should have said, we have a Christian problem. These Christians are going crazy defending these Gazan children. Nope. The dumb, stupid, high, ideological, silly, gay, confused, whatever you want to call them, they're the ones that kept the social pressure up. They're the ones that remained the conscience of our country while we were out here helping these people to genocide these people. And it was those people that said, I can't do this. There was not listen, I was a young Republican in the Iraq War era. I never once did that. I never once said that. These young kids, they had the brain. And so Rashida Tlaib said, we're going to do a 1,000 vote, no confidence in Mr. Biden. And then it came out to be 10,000. And then the last speech I saw from Mr. Clinton was, yeah, I know you guys are really worried about your babies and stuff, but Hamas is using human shields, which is a fucking lie. I said, okay, Michigan's gone. I said, Michigan's gone. Yeah, our genocide of these children, yeah, that also hurt the Democratic Party. Bless God. You guys overestimated the power of Roe v. Wade. You guys overestimated the power of Roe v. Wade. Overthrowing, first of all, Roe versus Wade was a horribly written legal decision. Even the great RGB said as much. I've been on here on record. When I first came out here, I told everybody abortion's going to be gone in my lifetime. And I knew it was going to be gone in my lifetime because I know that movement can only continue in lies. And that's why every time I run into a moderated debate about this topic, the other person gets cooked. It's not because I'm a good debater. It's because child sacrifice is impossible to defend. The fact of the matter is, dear listener, the biggest emergency about 10 to 15 years ago in the evangelical world was gay marriage. Dear listener, I'm saying we because this is what the Christians did. I'll never forget, I was at a Bible study. It was a Tuesday night. We took people from Utah. We took a whole contingent of Mormons from Utah because it was, I think it was called Statute 8, right? It was called Statute 8. And if you voted for it, then the gay people get married. If you voted against it, there's no gay marriage in California. And apparently California has these weird laws. You can come from out of state and vote. You don't even have to be a resident of California. That was such a weird law. But we bust in these Mormons who, by the way, we don't believe are actual Christians. We bust these Mormons in so they could vote against gay people getting married. You know what happened? It happened anyway. A couple years later was the Obergefell decision. But up to the Obergefell decision of the Supreme Court, all you heard from evangelicals, it's going to be the end of the world. We cannot vote for somebody that supports marriage equality, blah, 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 blah. It's the end of the world. God, the ground is going to open up, and all of us are going to go alive in the Sheol. Our country will be heard of no more if we let these gays get married. I was on a trip. I was literally tying up my my little bootsies there. Because I had I was in, I had an appointment to get to, okay? And you can't be late for these appointments. And I just remember on the way in, I had the thing in my ear, I had my earpiece here, and then I had the news in this one, and I heard blah, 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 gay marriage, yada, yada, yada. So I was out of the country, so I'm like, I wonder how folks are taking it down there. Dear listener, you'd have thought that a 9/11 happened. Every other sermon was, we're going to die, we're going to be destroyed, blah, 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 blah. You know what happened like 2 or 3 years later? Everybody forgot. You know why? We adjusted. And at the end of the day, them people ain't harming nobody. And if they are harming somebody, they're harming themselves, because the scripture says that sexual sin is a sin against your own body. And you know what happened? Everybody just moved on, and we don't care. Nothing happened. We all changed. We don't care. That's what's going to happen with abortion. Dear listener, let me tell you something. The only reason that abortion is so ubiquitous is because we have trained the minds of these people to believe that children are not human beings and that children are the property of their owners. And the reason I know that we're going to get past this is because this happened before. That Negroes were not fully persons. They were the property of their owners. And there was a giant financial boon and a giant financial motivation to continue on with that belief. But God, being gracious, did not allow us to continue with that belief, and he punished this country by killing 600,000 of our own countrymen. Now, I am certain we've already destroyed the cure to cancer. I am certain we would have been in Mars populating, doing whatever it is that Elon wants to do up there, but they ended up as medical waste is what they call them. What's going to happen is dudes are going to get vasectomies. The dudes that are committed to just using the female body as a live-in masturbatory tool and not commit to her and not build a family with her. You just want to use her as a masturbatory tool. Okay, that's fine. You're going to go ahead and get a vasectomy. Did you see what happened with vasectomies as soon as the Roe v. Wade thing dropped? Dudes were flying to the hospital immediately. People are going to take the steps that need to be taken, and the next generation is going to look back and say, what the fuck were you guys doing? Some of y'all, you're going to have grandkids. You're going to have grandkids. Your grandkids are going to come up to you and say, did you know that they were pulling the arms and legs off babies while they were alive? Yes. What did you do to stop it? I encouraged it. Some of you, I'm not going to name you. Some of you, that's going to happen to you. Watch. You're not going to leave the earth before you get that reckoning from your own children. Watch, you'll see. I was watching a Michael Moore broadcast, and he was talking about, it was this movie called Sicko, I think it was, and he was talking about these health insurance companies are terrible. This girl's in this horrible position. They're like, oh, you left out a period, so no $400,000 for you. And the guy was watching it, and he was one of these giant insurance dude. He said his kid paused the video and looked at him and said, Dad, you do that? He said, Dad, you do that to people? And the guy said, I knew right then I had to quit. Otherwise, I was going to lose my son. Some of y'all are going to have that conversation. Watch. They're going to watch some documentary or something that people used to do this back in the day, and your kid's going to be like, Dad, you did that to people? You supported that? Roe versus Wade is not as big as Mr. Biden thought it was. Apparently, when you inflate the prices in this country, that becomes a more immediate fear than abortion. The people who are voting this time around are worried about the children in front of them. And they can't afford to feed them. Mr. Biden was handed a one. Look, here's one of Biden's lies, and I got to give CNN some credit. Here you go. Here you go. Let's give CNN the credit. Mr. Biden claimed that when he received the country, he had a 9% in inflation rate. Here we go. Biden's claim that the inflation rate was 9% when he became the president is not close to true. The year-over-year inflation rate in January 2021, the month of his inauguration, was about 1.4%. Please keep in mind, Mr. Donald Trump handed Mr. Biden a 1.4% inflation rate in spite of all the carnage that happened in 2020 with COVID. When he got the presidency, he was at 1.4%. Yikes. And then it went up to 9%. It peaked at 9.1%. That's what happens when you keep sending hundreds of billions of dollars to far-right fascists over there in Ukraine. Which party is against equal rights for LGBTQ people? That would be the GOP. Well, I'm sorry, but there's a lot of LGBTQ people that don't feel that way. Trump did okay with LGBTQ people as well. Yes, this is true. This is true. This is how I know God is behind a lot of this. A lot of people voted for pro-choice legislation and voted for GOP politicians. I agree. But again, that just shows you that the Roe v. Wade stuff is not as important as these talking heads thought it was. Human beings we're gonna adapt. I promise you. We were not killing our kids wholesale before 1973 anyway. It'll be all right. And by the way, I'm not even going to touch that. I'm not going to touch that. Yeah, they overestimated. They overestimated the impact of Roe v. Wade. It did not have that kind of impact. And quite frankly, I got to tell you, we got the House, we got the Senate, we got the executive branch, and we definitely have the judicial branch. We need to get this done in 2 years. From what I'm hearing, in 2 years we'll have a full and complete ban on abortion, inshallah. And it's crazy because you guys remember last week you had all these early voters, all these women, and Crystal predicted a landslide. And you had Charlie Kirk, you had all these people like terrified. Man, all these women they're voting. Oh man, we're in trouble. And man, them women showed up to vote because they wanted to make sure they could vote for Donald Trump early. I mean, I was surprised. This is also true. All removing Roe v. Wade did was move it back to the states. If you really want to go on to the Dem state, they'll gladly take you. Yeah, go. You can go to Colorado and kill your 9-month-old child for committing the crime of having Down syndrome. The overestimation of Roe v. Wade was too much for them. Here's the last part. No, there's two more. Trump's outreach policy was a 2024 policy, and Kamala's was a 1994 policy. Trump's strategy, it was funny because that's one of the biggest frustrations that a lot of these guys have across the board is that he didn't have a street team. He didn't do anything. All he did was tour, have fun with people, show up in a garbage truck. They're like, this is ridiculous. He's going to get smoked. No, actually what ended up happening is he strategically went to Aiden Ross, Joe Rogan, etc. And the Joe Rogan discussion, really, Joe Rogan, honestly, between the endorsement and the discussion, probably got him 500,000 votes. Mr. Trump was at 1 million in 1 hour in that conversation. He came off as friendly, charismatic, quirky, human. I haven't even seen the thing yet. I was just quoting left-wing people, their post-mortem of the Joe Rogan performance. He did an excellent job on the Joe Rogan show. And what happened with Kamala? She wouldn't go on the Joe Rogan show. Why wouldn't she go on the Joe Rogan show? Because that would have been a 3-hour long-form conversation, and you cannot set everything up with that. So instead of going to Joe Rogan, she went to Shannon Sharp, who's a black guy, and Shannon Sharp's number one demographic in YouTube is me. Black men in my age. Okay, 1836. That's the demographic. I went to Sam Sater. I said, Sam, I said, your girl is going to get washed. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, she's getting washed. I said, did you see that? You see that interview she did with Shannon Sharp? Did you see the comment section? Her, Emma Vigeland, and the moderator, they had a giant laugh. They said, ha ha ha, yeah, you gotta check those comment sections. And I said, I'll talk to y'all in 7 days. I didn't do it because I didn't want to be that much of a dick and spike the football, because I'm not gonna lie to you, I feel sorry for women like Emma Vigeland. Emma really believes that the world is going to close in on her. She really does. She really thinks that this is going to spell a giant and complete and total disaster for women everywhere and all the rest of it. And it really put me in a situation. I had a little shorts things going on with like the leftist meltdowns and stuff, and I stopped after watching Emma Vigeland, because the funny kind of leftist meltdowns where they're like yelling and they're saying no, like I always laugh at that. But like Cenk on election night got emotional, and then obviously Emma also got emotional, and those are not funny to me. Those ones from people that do that are not funny to me, and it's not because you feel like you know them because you've been watching them. It's because I know that they know that their political enemies are going to take that and blast it all over YouTube and mock them. So when I see Cenk get emotional, or I see Emma get emotional, I say to myself, okay, I see a comrade there, because this shit is real to me. When the monstrous regimen of women over there in New York got the 9-month thing passed, and I'm seeing women who were created to carry children and love and nurture children. I'm seeing women happy at the idea that they'll be able to saw off the heads of their 8-month-old child in the womb. Of course I cried. I cried for the baby, but I think I cried for the woman more often. You're already in hell. If you celebrate something like that, you're not going to hell. You're already in hell. Yeah, those babies, I mean, they go right back to the arms of the Lord Jesus, and the person that killed them is going to have to account to God for it. But man, when I saw those women, I said, man, this culture has just taken all of their femininity right out of them. It's taken the most glorious thing right out of them. Unbelievable, just for the sexual pleasure of men. It was a very painful thing to watch. So when I see Cenk and I see people get emotional and and actually like they're crying and they're hurt, but they're trying to power through it. It really does make you stop and be like, damn, like we're dealing with human beings here, It hurts, but yeah. The philosophy of we're gonna have a street team, we're gonna knock on doors. It's 2024. Trump rightly gambled that if he didn't do a lot of ground game, but he did a lot of digital game, if he went around to those outlets, I mean, Joe Rogan's got over 1 million followers. Aiden Ross has over 1 million followers. There's a lot of these guys that have more than 1 million followers. And then if you have a premier, Sean Ryan, you guys don't know about it, but there are people like Joe Rogan's audience who were not decided. A lot of people, if you look at that comment section, Joe Rogan, they were not completely and totally decided who their person was going to be. And so that was a brilliant strategy. I didn't think if I was running the Kamala show, I wouldn't have put her on Joe Rogan anyway. I wouldn't have put her on Aiden Ross because she can't do it. But if it was Hillary, I would have said, Hillary, we're not traveling all over the place. Let's set up shop in the Rust Belt area, right? And then you're just going to go Joe Rogan, Aiden Ross, da-da-da-da-da. And you're going to see it. I think Gavin Newsom or I think that Newsom-Shapiro ticket is probably what the Democrats are looking at for 2028. And I think Newsom's going to be all over the place, right? Newsom loves to fight. He loves to get busy. He's attractive. He's charismatic. Somehow he gets away with turning California into a giant cesspool, literally. I think if he's still a figure around, I think they're going to have a very formidable ticket, and I think they're probably going to win because, By that time, we'll have gotten rid of abortion, all the rest of it, and the leftists will be mad and shit. But it is what it is. But yeah, I think you're gonna see that. They're gonna see these guys on all of these shows now, right? And I think that that's good. I think that Trump demonstrated that, yeah, because of the sentiment that a lot of us have with legacy media, people feel like Joe Rogan is going to be more honest, and you're going to get the straight scoop with Rogan over, the dudes over CNN. I don't know. I have no idea. Here's the final reason and the ultimate reason that I knew that this was going to be over. When Anna Kasparian was sexually assaulted by 2 homeless people in California, she told that story. I remember reading that story. I remember getting increasingly angry. Anna Kasparian's like 5'2". She weighs like 103 pounds. And these 2 dudes, I'm not going to go into the description of what happened, but they assaulted her. She had her clothes on and everything. They assaulted her in broad daylight. Anna goes and tells this story. All of her Me Too, leftist, whatever, pro-women friends basically told her, hey, be quiet, that's a Republican talking point. Be quiet, that's a Republican talking point. She said, what the fuck are you talking about? This is not a talking point. This shit happened to me. Oh, you just don't like being around poor people. You had these 2 boys in the Vanguard, and I'm watching them and the other who's the slow guy? The Surf Times, I think his name. I don't know his name, but he's kind of slow when he talks. Not very, but he doesn't. He's Canadian. He's not even American. But every single time I heard a left-wing dude talk about Anna's situation, they always trivialized it. They said, oh, she's just complaining about running. I'm like, wait a second. She was assaulted walking her dog. You don't know what that's like, and I don't know what that's like, because nobody's going to come to me and do that dumb shit if I'm walking my dog. Who the fuck are we to say that she overblew it and all the rest of it? I couldn't believe this shit. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I said, for real? This is what we doing? All these weirdos, how did Anna veer right? This is very simple. This is not a surprise. She got sexually assaulted. You know what happened? I've seen this happen a million times in the church. There's some nasty weirdo, some horrible guy that needs to be under the ground. He's touching little kids. He's touching a daughter, whatever. But he's a deacon in the church. He's an assistant pastor in the church. So the victim, the mom and the daughter, the actual victims, you know what they get told? You gotta keep it quiet. Keep it quiet, because then if this gets out, it's going to hurt the church. Like, I understand what happened to you and your daughter is really fucked up. But if we talk about this and we address this, it's going to hurt the church. So you just got to take a hit for the team, which is exactly what the left wing told Anna to do. You got sexually assaulted by one of the people that we're trying to protect. And if you, who's the icon of left-wing progressivism, if you actually fell victim to what the right-wingers said was going to happen, that would be a talking point to them and hurt our movement. So be quiet about being sexually assaulted. That's what happened. I recognize that template. I got to tell you, I've been out in the world. I've been out in the secular world. And there's a lot of things, like you end up seeing church culture. You go, oh, that was sick, that was fucked up. But this one, y'all are exactly the same. I've seen it a million times. Y'all are exactly the same. Keep Harvey Milk's pedophilia out of everybody's consciousness. Keep the fact that this dude was running around in the 80s fucking 15, 16-year-old little boys. Keep that quiet, because we want to make him a gay icon. Keep it quiet, Anna, that shit happened to you. Because that's going to walk right into a Republican talking point. We're not going to stop and think like, well, maybe that particular talking point was valid. Or like the other one that I know that I won't say, keep quiet about the fact that a trans woman was in the bathroom with you and jammed you up. Be quiet about that. Disgusting. Disgusting people. Anna Kasparian is the ultimate reason that the Democratic Party went down in flames. Anna Kasparian was a young white woman in her, and most of her 20s were played out in front of all of us. And what did I tell you? I said, when you progressives get a couple years under your belt, and you get a couple kids under your belt, you're not going to be talking like this. That's exactly what happened with her. And instead of the people loving her unconditionally, they excised her from the community. And then Anna said, I am not a birthing person. I am not a person with a vagina. Call me a woman. And then once again, her own people went and put that girl on a tree. And what did I say? I said, listen to me, you LGBT people. I said, listen. These white women are not socialized to attack you in public or even fight with you online. I said, these white women are going to use your pronouns as much as you'd like them. And I remember I was trying to plead with my trans friends last year. I had this little article where these cisgender women were like, I don't like being called cis. And the guy said, well, then what am I supposed to call you? And the girl said, a woman. And the guy said, no, not going to do that. Sissy. So I ran this story. It was in the Middle America Forum. I didn't do it live. I said, this right here is the reason you guys are going to get fucked up in 24. I said, this shit right here is how you guys are going to get fucked up in 24. White women are not socialized to go and have a conflict with you live. You know what them white women are going to do? They're going to pat your little head. They're going to use your pronouns. They're going to tell you slay queen. And then they're going to go in that voting booth. And then they're going to go fuck you up. You saw all that red there with the Senate and the districts. You watch what happens with LGBT legislation. No, not LGBT. Watch what happens with trans legislation. You took people like Anna Kasparian and you looked her in the face and said, Anna, shut the fuck up. Okay. Anna's not going to sit there and fight with you and argue with you. They're going to fuck you up in the voting booth. Did you see who was missing in TYT when they were doing their election coverage? Did you see who wasn't there for most of it? You know, God bless Anna. God bless Cenk. Those two are just like really, 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 they love each other. I could tell. They're very loyal to each other, but there's no way that those two can coexist. Poor Anna was trying to get Cenk to see this whole stupid thing about calling Trump a fascist and all the rest of it. She was trying to get him to understand. He couldn't understand. He couldn't get it. He couldn't get it. I said, Anna Kasparian is a white woman. I said, Anna Kasparian is a young white woman. I said, Anna Kasparian was a progressive white woman who is now getting older and having different experiences. And I said, you guys, your movement, if you don't have these women in your back pocket, it's over for you. And what did I say? I said almost word for word. I said, white women put Trump in there. White women put Biden in there. And white women are going to decide who gets in. They're going to be the crux of the issue. Now, I didn't even see the Latinos come up. I said, go ahead. You keep telling white women. Y'all saw what happened with poor little, what's her name, Riley Gaines, when those weirdos locked her in her room, in a college room, and like they had to negotiate to get her out. and what's the other one? Posey Parker, where those weirdos over there in Australia put their hand around this woman's throat, threw tomatoes, all types of weird shit at her. I said, all right. Okay. I said, wait. I said, watch. I said, white women are going to fuck you up in the voting booth. That's exactly what happened. And that's exactly what's about to happen with y'all. Y'all don't believe me? Okay. Let's look at this. Here's Morning Joe. Here's Morning Joe. The title of this thing is that it says Democrats need to look at themselves or something like that. Full today. Yeah, your heart is full. It's full of something.
Democrats go.
Watch this.
The way he won.
the people he brought into his party, the people who felt they didn't have a home, Latino men, some young black men as well, even women.
You see all the blood on this freaking, look at this map. Look at the map. Look. Have you ever seen something like this before in your life? I've been telling y'all. You guys are crazy. This shit ain't working. Nobody cares about Trump being a fascist. Nobody cares about identity politics. Look at this fucking map. This boy got 30% of California and 28% of New York and won a Bronx district. The Bronx! The Bronx! Do you know who rules the Bronx? Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, Jamaicans, Jamaica. Look at the map. Are all these people, the entire country, 330 million, all of them are fascists? All of them. All right.
Young people. He did much better with young people than most people expected. And that is.
He did better with young people than... Now, why would that be? Why would Mr. Trump be doing better with young people than most people expected? Maybe you weirdo leftists, maybe you guys are really out of touch. Maybe Trump has more instinct of what's going on with the common person, whether they're Latino, whether they're white, whether they're an old black lady or a young white person who's voting for the first time.
It's a big shift that the Democratic Party has to reckon with. And at this moment, I'm not sure what the way back is for Democrats when you've lost, been wiped out. Donald Trump did better in 48 of the 50 states than he did last time around, despite all the everything that was coming at him. So,
despite everything that was coming at him, all the things that you guys threw at him, all the DOJ bullshit and the Russiagate bullshit, and try to have him killed. Yes, you guys tried to have him killed. I'm just gonna come out and say because we all know it's true. Okay, come on. Let's go. And you've assassinated this man's character every freaking day. And I'm sorry, but people are going to turn back and they're going to say that moment when that man put his hands up after y'all tried to kill him, because I think all of us know who was behind that assassination plot, especially the first one. There's a reason it resonated with people. It really did.
Democrats need to sit and think about what happened. The question will be, do they have the will to change? Do they have a message that will be appealing to those people that Donald Trump now brought into his coalition?
I hate Monday morning quarterbacking here. I really do. And
Ben, this is a thing that kills me about Ben. Benjamin Webb is the smartest person in our community, and it's not close. I don't think Ben has ever been tested, but the kid is literally a genius. Look at this stupidity. Both shooters were registered Republicans. You can't blame the left for what Republicans do. Ben, really? Really? Do I even need to explain that? Do I need to explain that? Ben, do you need me to explain it to you?
And I don't want this to be taken as a blanket criticism for the people that were running Kamala Harris's campaign, because they were great.
This is one of the things that gets me about leftists. They're like, they just aren't getting it. I don't know. They're just not getting it. We're not getting it? Bro, how arrogant do you have to be? We're just not getting it? Look at the fucking country! Are you really that arrogant to believe that you get it, but the rest of the country doesn't? It's the whole damn country, bro. What are you talking about? We don't get it. All right. Okay. Y'all better work on some secession programs or something, bro, because it's the whole fucking country at this point. We continue. Holy hell.
Latino men, some young black men as well, even women, young people. He did much better with young people than most people.
What's your explanation for why he did better with women, particularly young white women, controller? Especially since he was responsible for taking away their rights. They never had the right to kill their child. But how do you explain Mr. Trump being also popular among young white women.
Expected. And that is a big shift that the Democratic Party has to reckon with. And at this moment, I'm not sure what the way back is for Democrats when you've lost, been wiped out. Donald Trump did better in 48 of the 50 states than he did last time around, despite all the everything that was coming at him. So Democrats need to sit and think about what happened. The question will be, do they have the will to change? Do they have a message that will be appealing to those people that Donald Trump now brought into his coalition?
Again,
what?
Sometimes as a political opponent, as you know, Joe, you just have to tip your cap to the other side, not for the rhetoric, not for the behavior, but for the way he won. The people he brought into his party, the people who felt they didn't have a home, Latino men, some young black men as well, even women, young people. He did much better with young people than most people expected. And that is a big shift that the Democratic Party has to reckon with. And at this moment, I'm not sure what the way back is for Democrats when you've lost, been wiped out. Donald Trump did better in 48 of the 50 states than he did last time around, despite all the everything that was coming at him. So Democrats need to sit and think about what happened. The question will be, do they have the will to change? Do they have a message that will be appealing to those people that Donald Trump now brought into his?
And when you see all that blood on that map, now you see why all the DOJ stuff was there, all the Russiagate stuff was there, and now you see why they tried to kill this man. Because they knew that they were massively unpopular, and they saw this coming. And they said, you could tell, they had one of their little war room meetings, and Mr. Obama said, there is no way we can let this man enter the White House again. We can't let him run. That's a fact. That's a fact. I'm sorry, but it's true.
Coalition.
I hate Monday morning quarterbacking here.
By the way, some of our progressives in the family are saying it was poor voter turnout, and Ben correctly pointed out it was poor voter turnout for one side specifically, and he's 100% correct. You can see here, collapse in Democratic turnout fueled Trump's victory. Correct. Now, supposedly, let me say it this way. The Democrats had a better turnout during a COVID year than this year to vote for Ms. Harris. No. It was only on the left-wing side. The Republicans were breaking records for voter registrations. The Republicans got people to show up. The Democrats didn't, because nobody was inspired by their message. Their message was, Trump is a fascist, Trump is a racist, and abortion. That was the entire thing. We continue.
Do, and I don't want this to be taken as a blanket criticism for the people that were running Kamala Harris's campaign, because they were great. Jen O'Malley Dillon, just the best on the ground.
In 1994. I agree. We're in 2024. Nobody cares anymore about your ground game.
That there is. She was facing, though, there was a red wave this year.
Yeah.
The press got it wrong and the pollsters got it wrong 2 years ago. That wave was somewhere out coming off of Africa and moving across the Atlantic and coming.
Yeah, I mean, look, I was there when because my son is an operative for these people, and we had a little district up in the Northeast in Maine, and him and his team were responsible for all that, and they got washed. Like everybody, all their people lost, and I remember going in there and I'm like picking them up and shit. And the night ended a lot quicker. I mean, it was a very decisive, and that was it was terrible for my son and all them, but I was happy because the strategy that they used was to front load trans people, like they try to do with the immigrants in 2018. So trans people were the target this time, and I knew that if they were successful with the red wave targeting trans people, that it was going to be multiplied when it was a presidential election. So I was happy, but my son never did Little League. He never did. He just never was interested in that. So this was the first time he was on a team. He put 110% in, and he lost. And like I literally like had to pray with these people, not just my son, but like everybody, because they were so hurt, and you know their leadership had basically abandoned them all. So I had to get down there and pray with them. But yeah, the red wave was supposed to happen. It didn't happen, and then this happened. Good night.
I mean, it just took it 2 years more to get here, but man, it crashed on shore.
Don't want to start an abortion convo. I'm curious what you think about Trump saying the limit should be longer than 6 weeks. He's wrong. I think the simplest way to look at this conversation is to say, at what point does a separate human organism come into being? And at whatever point that is, from a scientific perspective, if there is a clear green line and red line for that, then we should mark it from that perspective. Thankfully, we have a 96% consensus that the moment that the two gametes fuse or the sperm hits the egg, we have a completely separate human organism. At that point, it is the responsibility of the woman, the father, the doctor, and society at large to protect that child with all of our resources. That's my position. We continue.
Nights ago. But Jonathan Lemire, there was some reluctance to go there.
No, Ben, you're wrong. You're wrong. It isn't that calling Trump a fascist was ineffective. Yes, it was ineffective. It was absolutely ineffective. You had young people voting for this dude. Their parents don't even know what a fascist is, bruh. It was young people, young men, Latinos, young black men. The old guard black people, they all voted for the same people they're supposed to vote for because, you know, that's what they do. Young black people were voting for Trump. Latinos voted for Trump. White women voted for Trump. White girls voted for Trump. Young people love Trump. All my kids love him. And they're not all Republicans. And they're not all capitalists. But all kids love him. We continue.
Things that were concerning Americans that really mattered this year. Illegal immigration. The mass border crossings. Yes, they put a bill out there, and yes, that was good, but there was.
And this is a real dick move by Trump. It was a dick move on the moral level, but on a political level, it obviously worked. The Democrats had a bill, the bipartisan bill. It was a very beautiful bill. He made sure that everybody, you know, he didn't come out on record, but come on, he made sure that nobody voted for that bill so that he could still have that as a problem when he came into office, so that he could say that the Democrats weren't doing anything about the border. And then as soon as he gets signed in, he's going to do some variation of that and take credit for it. Okay? Horrible dick thing to do, but brilliant politically, and it worked. It worked. And in Kamala, they did try to bring it up, but I think that the messaging about the border by the Democratic Party was so disrespectful to the American people that I just think that they froze. Because remember, Lester Holt was like, yo, what are you going to do about the border? And she said, I've been to the border. He said, when are you going to go? She's like, I've been to the border. He said, nah, you never went to the border. What are you talking about? She said, well, I've never been to Europe. That was her answer. Okay? And we really did not move from there. And then people started saying, yo, we got more of these people coming in than normal. And on top of that, we got crime. And we were gaslit. No, there's no up in crime. Go watch the Vanguard boys. Everybody's ha ha ha. Everybody's saying there's crime. There's no real crime. There's no crime wave. There was no significant influx of illegal activity. Okay. You gaslit these people. And so did you, Morning Joe. This thing that gets me about these legacy media people. When Biden was in trouble, they got all emotional, blah, 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 blah. As soon as the thing is over, they're all like partying, whatever. Anyway, we continue.
Anything more definitive on it than that? That was something that concerned Hispanic voters. It's something that concerned black voters. Something that concerned all voters. We will talk again. We've been talking about the transgender ad that we kept talking about on this show. 30,000 times it ran, over $30 million, and kept
pretty much on Sundays. And what's significant about Sundays? NFL, and you just got home from church, so you're in a super religious mood.
Talking about it, saying this is going to be a problem in the 3 states that you need. There's a Financial Times article. They don't understand my life. The Trump campaign spent millions. This is Financial Times. Trump campaign spent millions of dollars on political ads focusing on transgender issues in the final stretch of the race. Kamala is for they, them, one said. Trump is for you. Quote. The ads of the transgender stuff were really unsettling to the people, said Deb Dassow.
Deb Dassow's a Democrat. Y'all remember that trans ad where she was talking about she's going to spend taxpayer money for trans surgeries in prison? Even Charlemagne was like, what the fuck are we... What? That ad was playing every Sunday for the last 2 or 3 weeks when I'm watching football, people coming back from church.
Chair of the Democratic Party in Wisconsin's Ozaukee County, a Republican stronghold in the Milwaukee suburbs that broke for Trump. I mean, you don't have to be a Republican, though I was a Republican. You don't have to be a conservative, though I was a conservative, to understand that seeing ad after ad after ad in NFL football games.
He flipped a blue county into a red county digitally with one ad. And who did he use? He couldn't use the trans people at the forefront of his campaign because 2022 showed that that's not going to work. He used it at the back end of his campaign when there was no rebuttal. Again, brilliant strategy. Brilliant strategy.
Saying that taxpayers were going to be funding transgender.
Secondly, controller, I'm sorry, bro, but Americans are a little bit different from Europeans. There's a lot of Americans who believe that the media is the enemy within. This didn't happen to you, but this happened to us. Our media told us that there are weapons of mass destruction and that we needed to send young boys between 18 and 21 with M4s and M16s and Abrams tanks and all other type of shit to go after people who make $5 a week and who can't afford a second pair of pants. Our media lied to us and told us to do that to people. So yeah, definitely the media is the enemy of the people. And that's one of the reasons why legacy media is dying and crashing and burning, because they do this over and over again to us. They did the same thing with COVID, and there is zero accountability. Zero. They were wrong on COVID. They were wrong on 9/11. And there's no accountability for them. And people died because of their lies. More importantly, Iraqis. I'm an American. But more important than us, the Iraqis died because of the lies that we believed. You had little 19-year-old boys putting bullets in people for no fucking reason other than that they were lied to by the media. So yeah, they're absolutely the enemy of the people. For real. Yeah. That's not rhetoric. I personally can give you examples. I can give you receipts. I can show you some interesting pictures. The media is absolutely the enemy of the people. We continue.
Surgeries for inmates, it's not something that's going to play well in Wisconsin, in Michigan.
He flipped Wisconsin. I couldn't even believe it. Wisconsin?
Taxpayers were going to be funding transgender surgeries for inmates. It's not something that's going to play well in Wisconsin, in Michigan, in Pennsylvania, among men. Mm-hmm. And yet,
men? You think men have a problem with that? My brother. Do you think? Listen, man. If I I'm just going back to my 15-year-old self. If I got an altercation with somebody, right, and I got jammed up, they threw me in the county, and I look up and my cellmate is a trans man. So somebody was born a woman and transitioned to be a man. You think I'd care? You think I'd care if I was in a cell with a trans man? You think it's men that are having these problems with the transgender people in prisons? Beloved, there are no trans men impregnating men in men's prisons, but there are trans women impregnating women in women's prisons. This is how like out of touch these people actually are. This guy's probably never seen a trans person in his life, probably. He said the men are going to have a real problem with trans surgeries in prison. That's just not going to go well. What about the women who have to share a cell with a fucking convicted rapist who has a penis but identifies as a woman? So now she gets to be locked away with this dude. Like, that's real. That happens. God almighty.
They just didn't respond to it because they were afraid to respond to it because it might offend some small subset of their base. And the thing is,
what did I tell you guys? What I've been saying, trans people, for the last year, I said, you guys are 2% of the population. You're the first group of people gonna flip on. Didn't I tell you guys? Now watch. I told you this. I told you this from last year. I said, these white people about to fuck y'all up, boy.
nobody's saying to be anything but.
Now look at this. Look at Ben. Look at Ben. Do you think trans people are impregnating female inmates at a higher rate than the guards? That's the response. That's the response. And this is one of the main reasons that I know that this trans shit is over with. Because Ben is a man. So in Ben's mind, he's like, well, the guards assault women, so what's wrong with another set of people assaulting women too? And that's his response. Because Ben has never been incarcerated as a woman being overpowered by a man. So he's like, hey, what's another group of oppressive men to come in there and rape you? But Ben, you're pro-woman, right? Okay.
Kind to all Americans. This just had to do with responding to the ad and saying, hey, wait a second, that was Donald Trump's policy that they're attacking. But they wouldn't even do that because, again, they're afraid to offend, always afraid to offend, always afraid to offend on border security, always afraid to offend on so many other issues. They're at 32%, and they have lost working class America. The question is, how long until they understand that this isn't just about tax cuts, this isn't just about economics, this is about cultural markers that matter greatly.
That was a culture war issue. I'm sorry, but the posture of the left was always the culture war is just a distraction. That's what they were saying the entire time. They were saying nobody really cares about none of the culture war bullshit. It's just a distraction from their failed economic policies. And now that ended up not being the case, now we're going to flip around. And now watch what happens with trans people. I told you guys were way too aggressive about that shit. Way too aggressive. You guys should have pulled back immediately with the Leah Thomas shit. You guys doubled down on it. It's over with. I told you. Go back and look. All my stuff. I was pleading with you guys. But you know what? You were socialized as white males in the Western world. And you were told that the whole world belongs to you. So you didn't understand how to operate as a minority. You operated as a majoritarian while claiming to be a minority. When all of us knew you didn't really think you were an actual minority. Because minorities don't act that way. We continue.
These people's lives.
Yeah, this is certainly a lot of second guessing among Democrats that they should have had a more robust response to that particular.
Listen, look at these people. Look at the condescending nature of these people. Look at this. The alternative media, Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, Ben Shapiro, and others are prompted up by the capitalist class billionaires to lie to guys like you, Vin. First of all, I loathe Ben Shapiro with a passion. I can't stand him. I don't ever watch Ben Shapiro. I don't watch Tim Pool. I'm pretty sure I know who Dave Rubin is. He's the guy that used to work on TV. I don't listen to none of them people. This is what happens with leftists. They're so condescending. Oh, to Ben Shapiro and Tim Pool. When have I ever quoted Ben Shapiro? And when I do, when have I ever said anything about him favorably? What the fuck are you talking about? That right there is just left in the relief. You have such disdain for the people that you're talking to that you don't even... This is what I'm talking about. This is just like Joy Reid when she came on TV and said that Republicans taught people the term inflation. It just shows you how little respect these people have for you. Thank you for letting me know that Tim Pool and Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro are paid up by billionaire capitalists. Is there anything else I need to know? I don't watch those people. I don't watch people who are going to tend to agree with me on broad level things. I watch people who don't agree with me. Whether they're big channels or small channels. I'm not influenced by any white person relative to my stances on none of this shit. Look at Ben. To be fair, a few years back you quoted Tim Pool favorably. Yes, I've also quoted Biden favorably, and he's a Nazi. So I've quoted a lot of people favorably. If you say something right, I'm gonna say it. But here comes the white guy that's got to tell the dumb Negro these people are not. Oh man, that was great. I needed to have it. I love it. I love it when people do that. We continue. You can't help it. We continue.
Argument. There's a lot of finger pointing in the party right now, but let's be clear: the President Biden's legislative record robust, but they're even in real time. His West Wing acknowledged they were slow to address two issues: immigration and inflation. And they feel like they made progress on both, but that was a lasting impression made on.
You didn't make progress, bro. You didn't make progress. I'm sorry. Look. At an emotional level, at a political level, nothing bad is going to happen to trans people. But I am afraid for young trans people who are told by their elders that if somebody does not basically genuflect to your insane demands, that they hate you. Telling a teenager, a 15-year-old, that if your mom doesn't use your pronouns, that she hates you. Telling a kid, if we say only biological women can go in this bathroom, that those people hate you. Young people are impressionable. Young people who do not have experiences take things literally. Let me tell you something, young trans person. All the older people who are shooting TikTok videos and telling you that shit, they don't believe it. You know how I know? You haven't been alive as long as me, but let me walk you down memory lane, my trans friend. I grew up in the United States of America, going to every public school known to man. You know what was a common occurrence? Fights. You know what was a common occurrence? Recess. You know what was a common occurrence? Pimples. You know what was a common occurrence? Embarrassment. You know what was not a common occurrence? Kids killing themselves every year. We went to school in the 80s and they went to school in the 80s. I went to school in the 90s. We didn't have people jumping off bridges, killing themselves every 4 seconds. But if you let these trans people tell it, if you don't mention this girl by her proper pronoun, she's going to kill herself. Nobody was doing the pronoun shit when I was a kid, so how come there was no suicides when I was growing up at school? I was the worst one. I was the most suicidal kid in school. So I knew where all the kill myself people were. That was a crew that hung around me. I was the kill myself crew. I'm the one that did 6 months in a mental institution. Where are all the trans bodies when we were kids? They're not there. You had tomboys and then you had tomgirls. And yep, if you were a dude and you were flamboyant, we made fun of you mercilessly. But them kids still didn't kill themselves for the most part. I'm not saying we never had a suicide, but the way these trans people talk, if this kid doesn't get this, he doesn't get that, you don't call him his pronoun, you don't give him puberty blockers that can completely fuck him up for the rest of his life, you don't give him osteoporosis because he's trying to go from a man to a woman, you don't do all these things, he's going to kill himself. That is a fucking lie. I went to school all through the 90s. We did not average a trans death a year. They're lying to you, and they're putting that shit in your head, and they're telling you that your parents and everybody hates you if they don't go along with this thing. And of course, if you believe that bullshit, you're going to jump off a bridge. The next couple of months is not going to be hard for you, trans person. You can be a very, very happy person. All you have to do is not interpret this bullshit the way that these people are going to try to make you interpret it as. They're using your pain, suffering, and naivete and your inexperience as political capital. That's all that's happening. There's nothing wrong with your mind as far as you versus anybody else as a teenager. Every teenager is crazy. There's nothing wrong with you. It's the fucking whatever. Listen, second of all, if you've got a guy on YouTube or whatever, and you are his target audience, what the fuck is a 40-year-old man target audiencing a 13, 14, 15-year-old child, telling them not to talk to their parents but to talk to them? I'm sorry, young trans person, but most of the people that you follow online at that level and are telling you that about your parents, promise you those guys got records or they're going to have one soon. Life is going to be good for you, trans person. Don't listen to these people. You want to express yourself, do whatever. Don't do anything permanent to your body. Give yourself a chance. And you older people, when this nonsense gets reversed, don't you dare go out and tell them little kids this is happening because people hate them. Stop it. Listen, if society hating you was automatically going to result in you killing yourself, then there would be 50 black kids jumping off bridges every day. Human beings are very, very resilient. Don't let these people tell you that because you no longer can take a puberty blocker or something like that, you can't be yourself anymore. These people are fucking liars. And they're getting something emotionally and financially from you following them and believing in their bullshit. And let's not forget, dear trans person, that you are a wonderful paycheck because you're going to have to go to the doctor every single month for the rest of your life. They got a lifelong patient. And it's really interesting to me that you leftists could see capitalism in everything, but in this topic and abortion, you guys don't see the capitalistic implications. Listen to me, young person. Transitioning is big business. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that you don't legitimately have gender dysphoria. I don't fucking know you, young person. And you don't know me. And you don't know my family. You may have dysphoria. You're going to get through it. But these weirdos who are talking about irreversible surgeries, all type of other weirdo shit, don't listen to these people. They're mentally ill. I'm serious. They're mentally ill. You shouldn't listen to them. And these people that are about to tell you that there's going to be some giant pogrom against trans people now because we're going to walk some of this shit back, don't listen to them. They're lying. If they really thought that that was the case, they'd be strapped up or they'd get the fuck out of the country, right? The last thing they would do is shoot a YouTube video, right? Where the government could triangulate them since everybody's trying to go after y'all. This is bullshit. They've been lying to you the entire time. Nobody's out here trying to get you. Nobody's out here trying to kill you. And you reorienting your biological and chemical makeup is not in your best interest. Google transitioning and osteoporosis. Google transitioning and the depletion in an IQ score. Google those things. Educate yourself. And don't let these 45-year-old weirdos look you in the camera and fucking take you away from your parents and your friends and all the people that truly know you and love you. All right. Much love to all you beautiful people. Okay? I'm not mad at nobody. I don't hate anybody. Look, at the end of the day, I did not predict these things because I'm a prophet. It's because I understand human nature. We all saw this coming one degree or another. Nobody saw it being this crazy. But listen, the Republicans had a supermajority during Bush 1, and we didn't do anything to radically change the country. Okay? So, if you're a Christian, we have a real shot of getting rid of the scourge of abortion. And if we do it, other countries in the Western world are going to follow. We got a real shot here of ending the bloodshed of innocent children in this country. So pray, and get on the phone with your folks and organize before you go to the government. Before you bring your demands, you guys got to organize. I don't have to tell anybody this because the pro-life movement in America is extremely systematic, and we're going to get it done. But if you're a praying person, you got to pray it over the finish line. Second priority after that is we've got to make sure we get family medical leave approved for everyone, particularly women. Number one reason for abortion is economic. Giving a woman paid family medical leave is the best of all possible worlds. And if you're a Christian, let's say you gave a woman a year's worth of paid family leave. What if her and her husband at the end of that say, you know what? Let's chop the budget in half and maybe I can just stay home because I don't want to be torn apart from my baby. Like, that's the America. Within 10 years, we could have young women slaughtering and massacring their own children, to work for men in corporate America, to women taking care of their own children and loving their husbands, and their husbands going out there grinding their ass off and working for them. We can have that reality, but you got to pray, and we got to stop being so fucking stingy. Our government is going to spend the money. If they don't spend it on family medical leave, you know they'll spend it on war. So we could kill two birds with one stone. We could go crazy about family medical leave, and we could pour so much money into that motherfucker that we might not even have to go to war. Like, we might look in the war chest and say, fuck, we can't fight Iran right now. Wouldn't that be glorious? Now, everybody's going to say, oh, that's wishful thinking, blah, blah, blah. Did you see the map? Did you see that map? God's moving. We just gotta take advantage of it. We got an opportunity. We got a window. We can close the deal. But I really, really believe that we have got to get family medical leave in there. Because if you do, that's going to take away a lot of the temptation to go back to massacring your own children. Make sense? Praying and thoughts have helped on gun violence. Well, controller, how would you know if prayers and thoughts worked on gun violence or not? And secondly, I wasn't talking about gun violence. We lose more children a day with abortion than we do the entire year in gun violence. So that's what I'm praying for. I'm praying for the preservation of all life. I'm praying for the preservation of all life. But if you're a politically inclined person, you got to get on that prayer train. We got to pray, because God's given us the opportunity to really go and do something. And maybe, just maybe, our country does not have to be judged the way that it should be judged for what we've done to children in this. You know, is that passage in Ezekiel, and God said, "You put my children in the fire, something I never told you to do or even crossed my mind." So we don't deserve any grace from God, but it looks like God's being gracious to us if you're a Christian, and even if you're not a Christian. You know that killing babies alive is wrong. You don't have to be a Christian to pray to God. You go and join us and pray to get these people who want to slaughter children wholesale out of our fucking law-making divisions in our country. Good night. All right. I'll put 5 minutes on there for an Ask Me Anything. I think I've done the general thesis. I'll put 5 minutes on an Ask Me Anything, and then I'll wrap it up after that. Okay, so there's the clock. It's 5 minutes. Now people can ask me anything. I will interact with the audience. Yeah, paid family leave. It's I think it's 85% nationwide, 91% Democrats, 76% Republicans. So it's a super majority on everything. Paid family leave is socialism. So right. I agree. The idolatry of capitalism and the evangelical church is just so crazy to me. And that's a fight I don't fight, because I have limited mental resources, obviously. But I don't really understand the correlation between Christianity and capitalism. I can understand being hostile to communism because of the way that they treated us as Christians, but that's more attributable to militant atheism than communism. There are forms of communism that do not result in specifically going after Christians. Obviously, Lenin's form of communism was informed more by militant state atheism than communism. There's nothing inherent about communism that says all Christians should die. The gun problem in this country is still huge, but that's a mental health thing. Healthcare wasn't really discussed. That's one of the things that really bothered me about this election cycle, is that at least when you had Bernie in the election cycle, we were putting healthcare front and center. I don't know if you guys know this, but COVID is still around. People are still dying from COVID. There's a new strain of pneumonia going around. Everybody knows somebody that caught pneumonia. That's not necessarily normal, even though I know we're going to flu season. I definitely believe that healthcare is still a giant blind spot, and this is one of the problems in having a guy like Trump on both sides, because Trump commands so much attention, and he becomes the reason he shouldn't be voted for, because he says so much crazy shit, and the Democrats don't understand that nobody cares about identity politics anymore, that they don't run. So that's one ad that if you're gonna run an ad on Trump, that's an ad that you're not running for something else. And so Medicare for, healthcare really did not take center stage at all. COVID got mentioned a bunch of times, but COVID was only mentioned in relationship to the economy, to the ramifications capitalistically. But like the actual human beings that were struck with COVID, there was no discussion about healthcare, how to expand coverage, how many Americans are in the window where they're not being covered, etc. And remember, guys, even if you don't like socialized medicine, think this through with me. You've got an airborne pathogen like COVID, and I don't have paid sick leave, and I don't have any PTO left. What am I going to do? I'm going to come to work sick. Well, now, instead of, your fellow person getting a cough or a cold, they're fucking laid up on a ventilator because they got COVID and they're like 450 pounds. Because if you're 450 pounds and you get COVID, you need to go to the hospital immediately. You will die. Right? Like, so you right-wingers, I can appeal to your sensibilities. If your employees keep dying, then you're going to have to hire new ones, and then that's going to cost you a bunch of money, right? So I do think with things like COVID, presenting it like that to a right-winger might be able to get us at least some socialism relative to COVID relief. Same thing with the mass shooter stuff. The book of Acts tells Jesus and his followers how to structure their behavior when interacting with the state. He's basically a communist. Well, yeah, and then his followers, based on those, you have the whole, I think it was Acts 7, everybody was sharing all the things that they had, and nobody was saying that whatever he had was his. So that's a good point. There's a rebuttal to that, of course, but, No one cares about a rapist friend of Epstein is your leader. I don't know who that is. JG 1982. I don't know who Epstein is. What about the 20% blanket tariffs on everything and up to 100% on China and Mexico? Fun times for American consumers. Yeah, I don't think that it's going to be the way that these folks are telling it. These people lie so much that, anything with Trump, I just say, all right, I'll just wait till I see what happens. Because I remember being on this particular show and unemployment was like at a record low for the black community. And I had an economist come on here and tell me that was bad. So I just need to see what's actually going to happen as a result of these tariffs and see what happens. You know what I'm saying? Did Democrats appointing a candidate after the primary and not giving the population a chance to vote in the nominee end Kamala's chances of becoming president? Well, the problem, Brent, is that both decisions would have ended her opportunity to becoming president. Okay? If they did primary her, she would not come out of that. She would have lost. Because that would have opened it up to Bernie, and Bernie would have dominated. Because if you're opening up a primary, that means Joe Biden's stepping out. Okay, so Bernie's going to run. He's going to win. He would destroy everybody. The real reason they didn't run a primary was for that. It wasn't because of Kamala. It was because they would have gotten Bernie, and Bernie would have won. And let me tell you something, my Democratic friend. Your party would rather lose to Trump than win with Bernie. Yeah. Very simple. All you got to do is say, listen, Bernie, at the end of year 4, here's what's going to happen. We're going to bow out. You take Gavin Newsom as your vice president, and we'll beat the hell out of Trump. You guys would have, listen, they would have called the race at 8 p.m. if that would have happened. But your party does not want to surrender itself to Bernie Sanders because they're looking at what's going on with Trump. Because it's Trump's party now. And they got way too much ego to do that. They got way too much ego to do that. It's also funny and debatable. Trump was a Democrat in the 80s. If you have a case of old brain, I'm sure it gets messy. Again, exactly. All these people that are talking about how much of a fascist this dude was, they all got pictures with him. What are we doing here? You didn't know he was a fascist when he was inviting you to the Waldorf or whatever, and you got married at the whatever in Miami. You didn't know he was a fascist then? He kept it all a secret until it was time for him to run. Then you realized he was a fascist? Man, these people are weird, bro. Weird. They would rather lose to Trump than win with Bernie. Because if you win with Bernie, they know what's happening. You see, you get Trump, right? When Trump's gone, he's gone. That was a lesson of 2022. People go, what happened to the red wave? What happened to the red wave in 2022 was that Donald Trump wasn't on the ticket. So these people had to fend for themselves. And what 2022 taught us is, if Trump is not at the top of that pyramid, Republicans don't know how to win. But if he is at the top of the pyramid, Democrats don't know how to beat him. But look at the other side. When Bernie's gone, you still have AOC. You still have Rashida Tlaib. I know what you guys are going to say. But if we went to an alternate universe, right, where we gave Bernie some real structural power, and he could raise up, he could work with AOC. Like, there are people on the bench that can replace Bernie, both in following and in, because Bernie also has a cult. I don't care what anybody says. Bernie has a cult for sure. Okay? He's a benevolent cult leader. But there are people that prior to, I'm going to get killed in the comments here, prior to AOC selling out her integrity and completely, basically, I blame Nancy Pelosi, to be honest with you. I think Nancy bullied her into submission. But if we had an alternate universe, and let's say that we get Bernie in 2020, so he wins, and he's got, I don't know, Gavin Newsom, some suit, okay, whatever, okay, Bernie's old and ugly. Gavin is young and pretty. He's got a gruff voice. Gavin is a smooth talker. He's got the legislative sort of 40 years, whatever. And then Gavin can learn the ropes or whatever. Boom. He goes out. Now you got a Newsom AOC ticket? What? There's a lot of chicken there, right? You could have really went somewhere. But if you do that, then the balance of power in the party is going to switch. And it's going to go from the Democratic Party to the Bernie Party. And they don't want that. So they would rather lose to Trump than win with Bernie, because they do not want to hand over the party to him. And when I say they, I'm specifically talking about the Obamas. Mr. Barack Hussein Obama is an elite political mind. He knows good and well that if he stood Bernie up there with the full support of the Democratic Party, he would wash Mr. Trump in a landslide. But he was so arrogant that he thought, yeah, I can impose Kamala onto these people, and they're just gonna eat it because I imposed Biden on them and they ate it. Well, sorry, Mr. Man, your time ran out. Nobody likes your person. All right. That's where we're at. This was a mega long one. I haven't done, this is about 7 hours of work. I haven't done this in a while, but it was good talking to you guys. I will be back very, very soon. Ben, send me an email, vidinstory@gmail.com. The capitalist class billionaires do not want Bernie Sanders. Well, I mean, I agree, but the people that are taking him out are not the Republicans. It's the Democrats. And by the way, Bernie's another one where if he would have beat Hillary in the primary, he would have got a bullet to the head too. You know I'm right. If Bernie was up there, them Democrats would have shot and killed him just like they tried to do with Trump. God bless him. All right, guys, have a good weekend. It's Friday into Saturday. Have some fun. Get in some trouble. Don't get into too much trouble. Drink some beer. Listen to some good metal. Talk to somebody who disagrees with you. Shut your mouth and listen. It'll be a wonderful time. Love your neighbor. Love yourself. Me, I tried yesterday, but it bounced back. Oh, yeah, that Vin and Story email is donezo. There's too many. I gotta expand that thing. I would tell you to text me, but you're such a weirdo with your phone number. Okay. Ben, try email me at this, okay? Actually, Ben, hit me up in Messenger. I'll give you my other email address. I can't put that one out in public. My God. I'll send you another email address. Guard that one with your life, though, because that's my real one. So, All right, guys. I love y'all. I got to get out of here. Talks like a socialist, lives like a capitalist. I'll give it to you, Wackator. I'll give that to you. I'll give that to you. You're right about that, but I best of all possible worlds would have been Bernie, right? I know everybody's gonna make fun of me, but I still think a Bernie AOC ticket would be a dream ticket, man. I just think that AOC needed to believe that she'd be able to withstand the thing by herself, and when the guy you're looking to is Bernie. God bless him, man. But if only Bernie had 5% of Donald Trump in him, we'd be in a completely different situation. But God knows what's best. So it is what it is. Yeah, Brent is right. DNC, yeah, this is so disgusting, but he's right. The DNC couldn't be happier about this outcome. In 4 years, the money will be flowing in. And you saw how these people were at MSNBC, Morning Joe, and all the rest of it. You know why they're happy. It's because all of a sudden people are going to be taking interest in their weak-ass companies again. Because none of us were watching the news. We were watching Breaking Points and Jimmy Dore and TYT and Breaking Points. We were watching those things. We're not watching them. But now that Trump is around, we're going to tune in and see what are these idiots going to do today. You know it. I think a Bernie Bush ticket would be better. You mean Bernie and Cory Bush? The woman Cory Bush, the black lady? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think AOC is a genuine star. AOC is a genuine star. And one of the things that the Republicans have taught us about Trump is that feel how you want to feel. Americans are okay with celebrity culture and making decisions based on a person's celebrity. And I'm never going to insult anyone's intelligence who ascends to that level of the Game of Thrones that anybody in Washington is. AOC is an extremely talented, extremely intelligent young woman. And I just think she needs a little bit of training and a little bit of confidence behind her. And she could have really, really reshaped not only the Democratic Party, but as a leader, everybody. Walz was terrible. He was terrible. He was terrible. I haven't met a single human being that likes that dude. And it's like, well, you're in a Republican Central. I'm like, yeah. But there's a lot of people that remember Biden and was like, yo, he was cool back in the day. Like, I haven't heard one positive thing said about Walz at all. He might have done wonders in the state with you and your like hyper liberal mind, but I don't know if it was enough for the general. You see what I'm saying? Trump is not the first celebrity politician. That's true. But he is the first celebrity politician that is completely immune to everything, mostly because of his celebrity. Like, you know, they lost because they're the party of war. I mean, like I said, man, I had my 16-year-old come up to me asking me about the draft. Now, I get it. My kids are a little bit more politically conscious, but like, and I had another lady tell me that she dreamt of a draft. I mean, we're talking about Iran and China. We all know that that's the next setup, and we're just supposed to strap up and go to war. We're eventually going to run out of resources and blood, right? I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, man, in an alternate universe, yeah, definitely a Sanders or Ocasio-Cortez ticket would have been crazy. Would have been crazy. Would have been such a cool dream. You know, AOC could have been the president, man. I really, really believe that we could have had and you know what? AOC can still be the president. Look at the demographics. I definitely think that the next president of the United States is going to be a Latina woman. Or the first female president, I think, is going to be a Latina Republican. But Kamala was always terrible, always terrible. I think AOC is probably at a point of no return. But I also think one of the things I couldn't cover in the main show was the progressives got washed. I mean, they got destroyed in 2024. I mean, they got annihilated. So I think progressivism is finished. Probably for the next 10 to 15 years. It's not going to be cool to call yourself a progressive. You're probably going to see another term come out in the next 1 to 3 years because progressive is just going to have too much baggage with it. And really, you know, at the end of the day, AOC is the icon of progressivism, and it's a failing project. Because the progressives demonstrated themselves to be extremely full of naivete and genuine goodness, but not having the foresight and experience to understand how politics works as a game. And that's clearly demonstrated by the fact that everybody's talking about how much Rogan moved the needle for Trump. And then Ro Khanna says, well, yeah, we need to get on Rogan. And then Ro Khanna was like, no, actually, we need our own Rogan. And Ryan Grimm, in the first time I've ever seen him say something insightful off the cuff, he said, well, y'all did have Rogan, but you repudiated him. Go watch that. Go watch that Middle America where they repudiated Rogan. I said, man, progressives are done. Y'all ain't winning shit for the next decade. Holy shit. Y'all ain't getting nowhere. Y'all ain't getting nowhere for the next decade after that. And AOC got corrupted. She got confronted, and she got compromised. And all my left-wing friends are laughing at me for always standing for her. I blame Bernie Sanders for that. He did not prepare her for the jihad that was going to ensue against her very well. So there you go. He's expressed what's going on with Waltz. He's the most normal politician I've ever seen. When he talks with people, he seems like a genuine guy who wants to help. I just don't get it. What do you mean you don't get it? Waltz is he you know, I could see why you don't get it. There's something. He's one of those people where it's like there's something about him where I'm like immediately like, nah. It's not because he's a Democrat. I'm more inclined to like a Democrat than a Republican anyway. Because I can't deal right now with anybody trying to justify anything in Gaza. But you know, it's not the most technical way to analyze a person. But yeah, Waltz always struck me as just a weirdo, man. Like a weird dude. I don't know. Trump's team was drafting a peace deal while the Biden-Kamala admin was trying to send them $600 million before their lame duck session. Yeah, I know. And like I said, you watch in the first 3 months to see if we still have if Russia and Ukraine still doing that dumb shit. Let's see. I guarantee you it's not. I guarantee you that shit's gonna change. Waltz was responsible for the 2020 Summer of Love. I am going to go Google that as soon as I get off, because I don't know what the Summer of Love is. Yeah. Kamala, yeah, exactly. Where they do that at, yeah. Kamala. I can't tell you, Applejack, how happy I am that she lost and that she lost that horribly. I cannot tell you. I mean, it was a historical loss. It's going to go down in the history books forever that you got smoked like that. And that because of you, the party lost all them seats. And I cannot tell you. You know why? It's like I said, a traitor's sin is greater. That's what I said in the song, dear listener. I said, stop the cooning. A traitor's sin is greater. Auction off your people now. It's time you hear your wager. Here's your 30 pieces. You and Judas say to Savior. Aim the layers and say a prayer. Take a traitor to his maker. Pause. See? You gotta go. You gotta go, Kamala. All right, guys. Waltz is a swamp old white guy. Yeah. I mean, shout out to Waltz. I'm glad, I love the moment he had with his son. He just strikes me as a weirdo, man. I don't know why. I've never really listened to him talk. I've seen clips of him talk. He just strikes me as like, ugh. Biden strikes me as a guy like, look, like you can't marry his daughter or whatever. But he sounds like you could have a really cool conversation and just chill. Kamala sounds like you got to get her like mega drunk before she finally says something like halfway authentic. I just wouldn't have the time or the patience. You know what I'm saying? But the Waltz guy is weird, man. He's just a weird dude. Waltz is a super liar. Yeah, that's the other thing too. He the whole stolen valor thing, man. Like that's not cool, man. We all know people we've lost. All of us have lost people. You know what I'm saying? Over there. For those, whether they were there for the right reasons or not, like we've all lost people. So for him to jump out and do all that crazy shit, that shit is weird to me, man. You gotta respect the soldiers. You don't have to respect why we go there. You don't have to respect whatever, but you gotta respect. These are 19, 20-year-old kids, man. So that stolen valor shit, like, I'm not cool with that at all. All right, Wackator, I'm going to go back and look at 2020 Waltz. Because he must have been different than 2024 Waltz. But you know what? I could have just been completely propagandized by the media. Because I'm like, because, like, it didn't seem to me like even the left-wing media embraced Waltz that much either. So, but again, they only had 100 days. Part of me is like, what the hell did you expect? Like... I go back and forth on it. I'm like, only a guy with Obama or Trump skills would have been able to even have a fighting chance. But yeah. He said his wife had a kid in vitro. Waltz's own wife had to come out and say that that was not true. Why the fuck would you lie about that? See what I'm saying? Like, weird. Yeah, he's just weird, man. He's weird. Whoa, 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 whoa. Applejack doesn't lie, man. All the Applejack thing is straight up, bruh. Chill out. Chill out. All right, guys. I'm going to be back. I'm going to be back soon. I haven't done a Middle America in a while. That's why I did 2.5 hours in this bitch. We'll see you guys on the other side. Love your neighbor. Take care of each other. Middle America. We are the media. Till next time, guys. Oh, by the way, did you see how Elon took my quote? He said, "You're the media now." I already came up with that term. We are the media. I should have got that shit copyrighted, damn it. All right. We'll see you on the other side of the break. Vin out. Well, there's no other side of the break. I was just saying that. My girl's asleep. Everybody's asleep. 7 o'clock in the morning. Good night. There was no stolen valor. He was in the military for 20 years. You know what I'm talking about, KJ. Stop it. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to advocate for him anymore because he's gone. He'll never return. Man, you ain't got to do that. Carl's just tripping. Carl's just tripping. He knows you solid, Applejack. All right. I love you guys. That was like more than 5 minutes. Been out.